Okay, checking the levels.
Oh, I can hear it on so many fronts.
That's why you have to talk. Good, you're talking. Helps. Hello, Eva. Right, well, for anyone who joins later, welcome to Two World Emos playing through this terribly shite game. It's not actually shite, it's relatively entertaining, but it's buggy as hell. However, we're also here to talk a little bit of lore, have a little bit of a lore down. It does have a puppet, it's true, that you summon with a squeaky toy. Because with the upcoming Space Marine 2, Alex has been getting heavily into his Warhammer 40k lore. And anyone who's tried to get into Warhammer 40k lore is well known that it is a quagmire. You'd have more chance understanding the Bible. I nearly called it a Babel, which is a very different thing. Although it does have a Tower of Babel in it.
Did you bring your Bible? I brought my Beyblade.
I mean, that'd be better in church, you know. Here's how Jesus sacrificed himself for your sins. Also, go Dragoon.
I'll sacrifice myself, but first you gotta let it rip!
Yeah, better than trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Anyway. That's all just cards that don't exist anymore.
You're gonna send me to the shadow, what?
Make him watch more Orc lore. Oh, Eva, do you not know that the Nexus Pariah episodes have started coming out? The ones for the sequel for the Salamander one we watched. So that will be being streamed soon.
Also, I sat down and watched, I think it was a 2-hour video on orcs today. And it included that, the story that was in the one of the shorts that you put on, about that commander who they respected but really wanted to kill, and he just kept on.
Yeah, Yarrick.
Yeah, even learn about him as well. A little bit more.
Good old Baelai.
But, yeah, had 2 hours of that.
Okay, so I have actually completed this game.
I don't know. I don't see a new slot.
Yeah, well, that's because I had to reload it after I accidentally loaded it to yours.
Also, anyway. I don't think I'm getting sound. Oh, wait, no.
The guilders run.
No, I am. It's just very.
Yeah, there just wasn't anything happening. So, Necromunda is a hive city, just telling you now.
Oh, excuse me.
There's no order down here.
It's good to look like a good boy.
It's very super quiet. It's not a very loud game at this point, to be fair.
Yeah, I brought it up to 100%, which is like normal volume, and I can hear it now, but it's still a very quiet game.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's so quiet.
The dude's whispering.
Well, he's being secretive. I will up it a bit. There we go. You should be able to hear it now on the stream at least.
Eva, let us know where you're at.
Without them, it all breaks down.
It all breaks down. Also, everyone has a mobile.
No one kills a guilder.
So yeah, I've been going through lore videos the past few days whilst I've been at work. So I've got far more knowledge than I ever wanted to have. Mostly because you can't just watch a video and learn all the important things. You watch one video, learn 4 important things and 7,000 very unimportant things.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, House Escher is one of them. There's like 3 major houses: House Escher, House Goliath, and House Ladies in Metal Bikinis, whose name I can't remember.
But I've got a series of questions. I've not written them all down. I'm probably going to keep adding as we go along.
No, that's fine. And anyone in the chat
I know the answers to some of them. I just want to see what you say, because not everything that I've read has been like... Well, I mean, none of it's technically canon, because it's all just whatever the fuck you want it to be.
Well, GW has a famous line that everything is canon somewhere.
Yeah.
Which they basically say, so, welcome to Necromunda, I have a pistol. I mean, I'll give it credence. It's a very thematic-looking game.
I mean, when did this come out?
A few years ago?
I was going to say, it doesn't look too bad. Even if not especially, it contradicts itself.
Let's see, do I want to be hooded guy, scary Morpheus lady, wouldn't trust him around a school, definitely wouldn't trust him around a school.
One of them had a hat!
Yes, he has a hat.
And a cool mask.
And she has a hat.
Less cool mask.
I don't know. I think this guy seems like a fun, trustworthy guy. 2021 it came out.
Would you trust him with kids?
I wouldn't trust any of these people with kids. We'll go with normal. And down we go. I also
Jesus
wouldn't
Christ.
trust this lift. And we're in a bar. So yeah, this is a hive city. It's essentially what the Imperium builds to put people in. They are hell.
This is it.
This is a bar?
Yeah. You sure?
And there's my pupper.
The black
Yeah.
serpents are holed up in there.
Or this is somewhere I need to kill people. I can never really remember. It's very Metro 2033.
You sure?
Yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting.
Sure going more
Except it's
sure.
Metro 2033 if the first part of your corner was just filled with some guy's cake.
And then,
Like in the 41st millennium, there's cake.
and then, payday. Okay.
Also
So,
skeleton.
Josh,
So, Alex.
how do you think the Emperor came into being?
The Emperor came into
can't
being in
defend
current
all the
law by a whole
approaches.
bunch of shamans,
Coming from
essentially
both sides, and from the dome front.
ritual mass suicide, and they all became one consciousness.
What about the... And this is the thing, I've heard that that is a theory. I've heard that an alternate theory is that he is a reborn old god.
That's never been confirmed. The shaman thing is the most likely, and it's also been stated in numerous pieces of lore, more than the reincarnated old god thing.
So that is more or less a confirmation. Then.
This level.
Yeah, for one thing,
heading down.
old gods aren't really a thing. You have old
You and the
ones,
hound,
but
eh?
the old ones
Yeah.
don't look like the Emperor. They look like
Okay.
frogs.
This is it. Let's go.
I'm not
move
even
past
kidding.
the frog thing.
Well, the old ones were the people who created the Eldar,
see the
but they were
sentries.
hated by the Necrontyr, and the Necrontyr
Wait until
fought
I'm
the
on the
Eldar, but the Eldar weren't particularly
take
good
out
at
as many
fighting.
as you can.
So the
Let them know
old
the
ones
signs.
made the Krogs, who became the Orcs, because they didn't put an off switch on. But the Necrontyr found the Catan, who are another form of basically space gas, who eat planets, and then they turn themselves into robots.
And this is what I said when I said it's very easy to go off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to stick with the Emperor for a bit because that's definitely most of the videos I've watched thus far.
So this is Russian territory.
So he, going with the theory of the shaman, because that is also the one that I
Oh.
more or less believe. Jesus. Okay, basically it's one big fucking branching tangent. Yeah, I agree. Ugh. Oh, I've frozen.
Have you?
I have.
Ah, I can still hear you.
Ugh. Hang on.
Can you still hear Alex? Well, he's
Yeah, it was
back.
just my my webcam. I heard it disconnect and then reconnect, but I was frozen.
He's back. Yeah, so, Emperor, what do you want to know about the Emperor? Oh, yes, I have wall running.
So I'm gonna go with what I do know, and you just tell me where it lines up. So let's go with the theory of the whole mass suicide. That's how he was created.
Yeah.
All of the shaman had some form of psychic power, therefore all of their power went into the warp, culminated into one being that would rule humanity, and that was what they foresaw because they had a mass vision of what would be the end of humanity, and they did that to stop it, correct?
Essentially, they wanted to create someone to lead the future of humanity.
Yeah. So
Well,
they
that should be
commit suicide en masse, which all their energy then goes into the warp, where he is then birthed into humanity. But he sits and waits for what is it? 15,000 years?
So he didn't actually know he was the Emperor. It's the big point. He didn't have memories of it, and then it eventually came to pass
yeah.
that he did remember it, and
I'm
he didn't
in.
hide.
Let's do it. See you with the prize.
Was he not also one of the few humans that wasn't quite aging the same?
Well, he took on numerous kind of personalities over the years. So there's some theories that he was, people like Xerxes, any major figure, he was them. It's kind of convoluted as to what part he played in most of human history, but he was there. Oh, shit, okay.
Well, from my understanding, he mostly kept to the shadows, but he would try to steer humanity in certain directions at times.
Yeah, he as I said, it's not 100% clear what he actually did.
Yeah, because they can't confirm it, because then the, if they turned around and said, oh yeah, he's Xerxes, everyone would be like,
Yeah.
well now we need art for that.
Basically, yeah. For instance, he could have been Jesus. We don't know. He could have been any number of people. That feels like the wrong
I'm
way
going
to
to
kill an author.
sacrifice myself, but remember, religion bad. And everyone was like, yay, religion. And he was like, I'm not going to let this happen again.
Well, he didn't really
But he
have.
did.
He didn't have the religion bad thing in the early days. That didn't come till later.
Well, didn't it come when he came to... Because wasn't his whole shtick with religion that it was causing too much friction between humanity, and he needed... He also wanted people to move away from religion, because then there would be less sort of like worship that would then fill the Chaos Gods.
Basically, the main point he had with it is he believed that religious belief was one of the main pushes for the Chaos Gods, and if nobody believed in religion, they wouldn't believe in the gods.
Not because people would worship those gods, but because the feelings that they would have through the life of worship would lead to the Chaos Gods becoming stronger, yes?
Basically, yeah.
You just squeaking that toy, ain't you?
Yep, I squeak a toy, Papa comes.
Was that you?
Essentially, the Emperor's plan also doesn't make sense.
Third level. There's someone else down here. And it ain't
Well,
Russia.
didn't... okay, well, you know what, we're moving too quick, because, you know, the Emperor was alive for a very fucking long time before, he even, like, you know, built the Space Marines and everything like that, so let me take a step back. I squeak a toy and Papa comes.
That's how you summon a furry. It's a little mouse.
It is! So yeah, he steered humanity until a specific age from the shadows, and then he started to conquer the planet, and he started to wipe religion out, didn't he?
Yeah, essentially. It was a long time after all that happened that he started to wipe out religion. He also took over from the techno-barbarians and from the lords and everything else. Earth
Yeah.
was pretty fucked up at that point. He had a lot to do. Jesus, the trigger is fucking light.
Goes, Eva, I see you both chatting in chat, and I'm not a fan of it.
Why? Because they're calling you a furry?
I mean, pot kettle black.
Well, Gauze isn't a furry, he just likes mistresses.
No, Gauze is a furry, because I'm pretty sure he just likes anything hairy.
Oh, that too. And Eva's just Eva.
Which means Eva is everything.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, if it has a pulse, then it's humanoid.
And lethal.
And legal. Notice how you had to say that.
Well,
Maybe squeaky toy?
it's on a timer.
That's not how puppets work.
That's how this puppy works. Vampires don't have pulses. No, they don't. They also don't have blood flow. So, you know, they're not going to be able to do a certain thing you enjoy having around you either.
They will be rock hard at all times, though.
Technically not. Anyway, that's all these guys did. Right, what were you saying?
Yeah, so Emperor started wiping out religion, and I did read a story about how it was his interaction with the last priest on all of Terra.
Yeah, that's a short
in
story.
Yeah, in the Church of the Thunderstone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a debate with the priest over religion.
Yeah, it's called The Last Church. It's an alright story.
No, I enjoyed it. It was a really good story. The guy that did all the lore videos told it, and it was good. He did a really good job with it.
Gauze,
can
Viagra
make it.
doesn't work if you don't have a pulse. Just telling you that now before you try something weird.
Too late.
But yeah, so the Emperor did all that. He got rid of religion, and then he decided he needed to lead his army. So he got rid of the Thunder Warriors, who were the army leaders
Yes.
then. 'cause
So
they
the
were
so the
nuts.
Thunder Warriors were the first set of basically they were Space Marine Alpha.
Basically,
He
yeah.
made warriors to basically crusade and conquer the Earth. But why did he get rid of them again?
Because they're nuts. They weren't controllable. They were very violent. They didn't really have any sense of unity.
Yeah.
They weren't terrible, you know, they were very good soldiers, but they also didn't have the wealth of upgrades that Space Marines would later have, and he couldn't really upgrade them. He had to get rid of them. Also, yes, their name was cringe as fuck, and they had stupid as hell armor. Like, they had little top knots and stupid helmets.
Jesus Christ. Because their name was cringe.
So, I mean, Thunder Warriors is a pretty dumb name.
But, my lord, why? You're cringe.
But yeah, so he killed them and replaced them with the Space Marines.
Yes.
Which-
Now, this is something I've not looked into. I've heard of it a lot, though. So they weren't known as chapters at the time.
No, they were legions.
They were legions. But, so, like, the Primarchs came in to be leaders of the legions after the legions were already created, correct?
No, so he made the Primarchs
Yes.
using basically warp magic.
Yeah.
Which essentially, we're told he may have made a deal with the Chaos Gods.
Well, yeah, with the Chaos Gods, I've heard that.
And he created the Primarchs, and then for an army for the Primarchs to lead, he used the Primarchs. I'm gonna have to pause it. He used the Primarchs' genetic material to recreate the Space Marines, and the Primarchs each retain a portion of his genetic material.
Yeah. Didn't he create a gene seed from all of that to create the Space Marines?
So the gene seed is what he puts into Space Marines, which is comprised of the Primarchs' biological material that helps them use all of their updates, basically. And then the Legions came first. Well, it was the first Legion, which were the Dark Angels.
Yes.
Which were the first completed Legion. So they developed a lot of the tactics, and then he created the other legions and the other Primarchs. Unfortunately, the Chaos Gods got a bit picky about him using their magic to make it, so they caused a warp storm that took all the Primarchs away. However, fun fact, it was proven that that was done by the Chaos Gods mentally transporting a Chaos Space Marine, who was a member of the Word Bearers, back into the past where he saw what was happening, and then he activated the warp storm that sent them all back.
Oh, wow, alright.
Because he was one of the Word Bearers, who was Erebus, who's a whole...
Yes. I know about the Word Bearers. Okay, so the Primarchs get lost, and one by one they're discovered, and then they're set to lead their legions. The first to be found was Horus?
So, I can't remember their exact number they found, but it's actually Omegron who was the first to be found.
I don't know if it was Horus that was the first to be found, but the first that was found, I think it was Horus, purely based on the fact that I read that he was the only Primarch, and obviously the only Primarch to lead a legion for 30 years.
Where are you?
He was, but it's actually confirmed that he found Alferis' twin brother first.
Oh, okay.
But he never told anybody, he kept it secret, because Alferis. Also, the Emperor's really bad at talking to people.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of speculation that the Emperor isn't actually a good guy.
No, the Emperor's the opposite. He's a monster.
How do
you met him now?
Russian Gulliman, it's stupidest fucking name.
Rabute Gulliman. Gulliman, I believe. But his first name's Rabute, I know that.
Rabute!
I mean, they've got a bunch of stupid names. Vulcan, Jagatai Khan.
So all of the Primarchs are found over time. Could you, and this is probably going to be very difficult for you to do in a firefight, can you name all of the legions right now?
Could I name all of the legions?
Yes, it doesn't have to be the name that they had at the start, it can be what their name became later.
I can certainly try.
Can you do it in order? That's the question.
Can I do it in
Legion
order?
1.
No, I can never remember what order they come in.
Alright, well, I'll tell you what, don't do it. Let me pull up the list.
Two of them, because we never got a name for them.
Yeah, I know, there are two that are missing because they were wiped out by the Emperor, so they couldn't be, their names could never be uttered again, could they?
They could be, but the other Primarchs decided to take a vow never to mention their names again.
The Emperor was happy with that.
Well, the Emperor doesn't really care what people do.
Right, okay, so...
Can't handle a few, Escher.
The
What's
bad
going
guys
on,
convinced
Leto?
they're the good guys. Well, they're a totalitarian regime who happen to just be slightly less worse than some of the other alternatives.
Right, so let's go through them in order. So who's the first Legion as far as you think?
The Dark Angels.
Yeah, so the Dark Angels are the first. Who's their Primarch?
Leto!
That is Lionel Johnson.
Yep, that's correct.
I'm going to tell you now, I won't remember the Legion numbers.
No, it's fine. But once I basically I want you to just tell me a bit about them, but tell me a bit about each one. So tell me a little bit about the Dark Angels.
The Dark Angels were essentially, they started as the First Legion, obviously. Dude, don't be a dick. They started as the First Legion, and then they happened to basically start all the things. So they got all the tactics in line. Then they found their Primarch, Lionel Johnson, who was on Caliban, which is a death world.
Yep.
That place turned him into... Well, the Lion is not good with people. If he's anything from the Emperor, it's his, like, not good with people side. He is basically what would happen if you made a super autistic man. He is terrible at talking to anybody. He doesn't like... He's very singular focused. He doesn't see the big...
autistic man.
Yeah, if you had a superhero who was autistic, that's the Lion. And what happened? The Dark Angels, before they found him, they knew they had, like, best of all worlds. You know, they had developed all the tactics. They knew what they were doing. All the other legions learned from them, but then the legions specialized and got better than the Dark Angels in specialized areas.
Yeah.
And that made the Dark Angels go a little bit nuts, because they suddenly realized they had no idea what their purpose was, so they got very suicidal, to the point where Rabute Gulliman called them out at one point and said, yeah, you completed your mission, the place to go.
Well, didn't they, you said it sent them crazy, didn't they, weren't they quite uppity to start with because they felt they had nothing to learn from other,
Yeah, they were very uppity.
other legions.
And then they found their other thing, and they got from Caliban, which had nightly orders, so they became nightly, which didn't help, because, once again, Lionel Johnson, bad with people. So what he did is he ended up sending his trusted lieutenant, who was also his father figure, who essentially was a bit jealous of Lionel. Understandably, you know, he would have been the greatest man on Caliban if Lionel Johnson didn't exist.
Yeah.
And then he had a brief moment of doubt, and the Lion decided, well, you're going to go back to Caliban and train recruits with all the other Dark Angels who I'm not 100% on. And he left them on their planet to recruit new Legionnaires. And as you can imagine, that went about as well as you would think. They all betrayed him after the heresy. Lionel Johnson got put in a coma. It was a whole thing.
And he was in that coma for quite a long time, wasn't he?
Yep, he's only just come back.
Yeah, I heard that it's only a recent thing. Okay, so the Second Legion, unknown.
Yep.
Okay, Third Legion.
I want to say the Iron Hands?
No.
Salamanders?
No.
Wayfarers?
It's the Emperor's Children.
The Emperor's Children.
Yeah.
I should know that. They're the Legion
Who is their Primarch?
Fulgrim.
Yeah, Fulgrim. So tell me a little bit about them.
That is a convoluted story. They are the... So the Emperor's Children started off badly. Because they had a... Alright, mate. Nice sword. They had a bit of a problem where they had a tainted gene seed.
Yeah.
So Fulgrim, he landed on Chemos. Fun fact, it's implied that he landed on Chemos because Slaanesh originally didn't want Jagatai Khan to land on Chemos. He wanted Jagatai Khan to land on his homeworld that I never remember the name of, because unfortunately the White Scars are oft forgotten.
Yeah.
Even by GW. And Fulgrim is interesting because he was very proud, as you can imagine. But he was also one of the most connected with his people. He was the only one who was married numerous times. He fixed his planet completely. You know, what could have been a terrible place, he actually sorted it a lot. And then he found his legion, and his legions, unfortunately, was decimated. There were very few of them. There was something like 5,000 Marines. So he traveled with Horus. And he and Horus were made a big friendship doing that until he had enough of a legion to go out. The Emperor's children were very proud. They perfected the art of doing warfare. They were very good at war. They were also the only one allowed to wear the Aquila, which is a little eagle thing.
Yeah.
And that was partially due to the Emperor seeing them as kind of his... I can't remember the word. They go to planets, they talk to people, and people are like, we want to join. Or they destroy
Ambassadors.
them. Ambassadors, yeah.
Yeah.
He also used them as an honor guard and everything else. So they were very proud. They were very good at war. But what that pride also meant that they were very easy for Slaanesh to corrupt. They ended up going to a Lair Temple, which was a planet of snake people. It corrupted a bunch of them, and it basically, Fulgrim took up a sword that had a Keeper of Secrets, which is a demon of Slaanesh, and it essentially corrupted him. And he... Well, there was a brief period where he was in a painting and demon owned his body.
Yeah.
But then it turned out he beat the demon and trapped the demon in the painting, and he was in his body. It's a weird thing. And then he becomes a snake man. And his fall is arguably the greatest, because his is the only legion where after they fall, they don't have any kind of semblance of rationality. The Emperor's children are all insane.
Yeah. So, not a very good ending.
No, it went badly for them. Not in their mind. In their mind, it all went great.
So, Empress Children, next Legion, do you know?
4th Legion... Iron Hands?
Iron Warriors.
Iron Warriors. Perturabo.
Yep. So, tell me a little bit about them.
They're dicks. They are actually dicks. Perturabo is a weird dude. He has the ability to perfectly see how something works. So he's very good at machines.
Yeah.
And he wanted to build. Unfortunately, the Emperor said, well, you're good at that, but you're better at siege, so he had him destroy stuff. And Perturabo, when he met his Marines, were kind of like, well, I don't really like you guys much. Decimation. If you don't know what decimation is, it's where you have every 1 in 5 killed. And it's the person in the 5 who killed them.
Jesus.
The Russians did it. And the Romans.
A super autist.
1
in 10 apparently.
But weirdly... Alright, Eva, chill. I'm remembering a lot of lore.
Yeah, give him a break. I'm asking him to basically unearth all Warhammer lore right now.
So this is what makes Eva secretly super mad. And then they're very good at siegecraft. They also tend to not care about their soldiers. Bit late there, Gauze. And no, there is nothing wrong with being autistic.
1 hour later, there is nothing wrong with being autistic. Very autistic of you.
He essentially didn't like what he was. He didn't like being the person who destroyed everything. He thought he should be just building stuff, which is why he hated Dawn, because Dawn was the builder.
Wasn't a big fan of his lot in life.
He also really didn't care about his men or the troopers. Weirdly, they're also the only legion who used to play tabletop games, because they'd have simulators where they'd fight armies.
Did they end up submitting to Chaos?
They did and they didn't.
Because I know that certain chapters didn't.
Who's there?
Didn't actually worship Chaos.
Oh, you
So-
know me.
The majority of them just followed Perturabo because they have no...
Jericho.
They don't really
Where am I?
focus on free... That's a foot.
Martyr's End.
This is not a doctor's, that's a foot. That guy's skinless.
Martyr's
Anyway.
End. Beyond the
Hello,
Falls,
Neku. Welcome
though,
to the Lore
beyond
Fest.
the bad
Neku!
zones,
Both
yeah.
far from where you want to
So
be,
yeah,
Outrager. But a better place
there
for
were
you
some
being
Iron Warriors who
otherwise.
didn't, who were kick-ass. They had a little kind of... There were 30 of them,
Better
and
than
they
I
held
could
off an
be,
entire
you.
chapter of Iron Warriors.
Little bad batch.
Yeah, it was very
I
cool the way they
saved
did
your
it, and then they
life.
went and joined the Ultramarines.
Feels like you did a great
But the
job.
majority of them don't believe in chaos in general. They don't
I
believe in
suppose
the
it all
chaos
depends on what
gods.
you imagine being dead
But they
feels
That'll
do
hurt 'em.
You
hate
seem
the
keener
Imperium.
than you should be on finding out.
Well, it's kind of a 50-50 on traders because some of them just didn't like their lot and didn't like the Imperium, and some others were crazy and
Well,
went full chaos.
you have to look at it in terms of how Space Marines actually live. Space Marines have heavily regimented lives. They don't really have free will.
I'm gonna leave you with
You know, their lives are entirely fighting until they die for people who
You can find me there.
don't really care about them and see them as angels. So
Ready for
Chaos
what?
is a chance for them to actually use their gifts whatever
That's
they
the
want,
fun.
rather than whatever their leaders want.
Finding out.
And they also take
I,
a lot of
I
orders.
disagree. Don't the Raven Guard have hobbies?
Oh, they have... It's weird, because the Horus Heresy has way more personality for the actual Marines.
Who are you?
Well, we will get into the Horus Heresy because that's what I'm leading up to, but I want to go through all the chapters first.
Yeah.
So, Iron Warriors, next one's White Scars.
White Scars are really hard. They like to go fast. They're basically Genghis Khan. Jagati Khan is also the only Primarch who didn't immediately know which side he was going to join. Jagatai Khan, that's it. He actually stood to the side and went, I'm not sure who they do like to ride people fast. He basically stood to the side and said, I'm not sure which side I want to be on, so I'm going to see what people are saying. And then he realized the traitors were all nuts, so he joined the Emperor.
Not a bad shout. Okay, next one.
Oh, there is a
what I
fun story about Jagatai Khan, though.
Go on then.
So I can't remember the exact story, but him and Fulgrim were mocking each other, and then Fulgrim said something like, I hear you do weird things to your vehicles. And Jagatai Khan said to him, I heard you do weird things to your soldiers. Which is fun.
One molests cars, the other one molests men. Cool.
It was more because the Emperor's children had a section in them even before they betrayed them, the Imperium, where they basically, hey, look, Goth Mama. With a
Every
metal
game
face.
needs a Goth Mama.
Where they had part of their section were basically Fabius Baal was adding genetic upgrades to them. That was the whole thing.
It was a gaming handle. Okay, next one. One I do know. Space Wolves. Essentially the chapter that is trained to kill Space Marines.
Essentially, yeah, they're the Emperor's executioners.
Yes. They're the ones that took the two chapters that are unknown off the map.
Heavily implied to have done it.
Yeah, there's no proof, but it's heavily implied because there's not a lot of detail about.
Yeah, they don't
whole
like
shtick.
talking about it.
Yeah.
They're also so they are very much, you know, oh, we're not a very good shot, is he?
Because they get to fucking other people find out.
They do fuck the space. They're also the only Space Marines who drink.
I love them already.
They have a special ale that if any human drank would kill you, like in minutes.
Another.
But yeah, they've got Bjorn, who, when he becomes a dreadnought, actually rizzes up a girl, even though he's a dreadnought.
So let's talk about the Primarch, Lehman Russ.
Lehman Russ is an interesting one. So there's a lot of parallels between Lehman Russ and Lionel Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
So Lionel Johnson was a man who tried to hide his civility behind his bestiality behind civility.
Yeah.
So, you know, he grew up in the woods. He was nuts.
Yeah.
But he tried to make it seem like he was an ordered knight. Space Wolves are the opposite. So Lehman Russ was trying to hide his civility behind bestiality.
Jesus.
You know, behind being a beast. And it's sort of the whole point between them. They're not as kind of bestial and evil as, well, not evil, but they're not as bestial as people think they are.
But they are one of the reasons why people fear them, because they're literally...
Yeah,
Space Marines, as a standard, are terrifyingly powerful, so to have an entire trained chapter of Space Marines trained specifically to kill Space Marines... Pretty strong, pretty strong.
Yeah, they're also, they're under the same impression as Genghis Khan, as if you want to send a message, destroy it. Don't just leave it, destroy it.
So next chapter, Imperial Fists.
Imperial Fists led by Rogel Dawn. Very good builders.
Your friends
Um,
already. Definitely psychic.
They are
That might be the
relatively
quickest I've seen anybody
chilled
work
for the
that
most
out.
part. They're very good at building.
But either way,
Rogel
your
Dawn
drink is
is not a
covered.
man who shares
You
his
should go and see him.
opinions.
He's right over there.
He's very quiet, very
If you ever
stoic.
want to know what's
Keeps
But
to
they
himself.
also have Sigismund. They are the chapter where the Black Templars come from, and Sigismund is
just
nutso.
call me the
Oh.
Where he goes nutso by the time of the heresy, but it's like quiet
Yeah.
nutso. So I'll tell about what he does with someone he knows later. Oh, look at my papa. Look at his puppy face. Always give me pets.
Give him pets.
Oh, he's a good boy.
Okay, the next chapter is the Night Lords.
Ready to talk?
Oh, yeah.
About how you nearly got me.
So the
From
Night
what
Lords-
I understand, they were originally
I knew they weren't up to it.
they were originally supposed to basically just terrorize
Yeah.
the people, weren't they, to keep them in line, to
So-
not challenge the
I mean, I
Imperium.
think so.
To understand the Night Lords, you have to
The Black
understand
Circles
Comrade
are
Kurz,
working
who's
with
their
an
Primarch.
outlaw,
Yeah.
Comrade landed on a
dangerous
planet called
outlaw who
Nostromo,
seems
I
to
think
be
it is,
calling
which is
himself
pitch black and full of crime lords. That's all it is.
No.
Even the nobles
Oh.
are crime
You
lords.
knew he
Oh,
was
shit.
there.
And he found the
No.
only way to bring order to his planet
But the
was
Black
to be as
Serpents
imagine
are his
Batman
master.
with a kill rule.
I figured they might give
Yeah.
us a few
Then you have
leads.
Comrade Kurz.
I didn't think whoever killed
But he also had the
Theorex
problem
would be
of
crazy
Comrade
enough
Kurz
to
could
still
see the
be hanging
future.
around here.
Mm-hmm.
So you thought
But
you'd
he was
dangle some
adamant
fate.
that the future had to happen.
No, nothing
Yeah.
like that.
So there was no chance of anything
Besides, you were quick
changing,
enough
so it
to
didn't
take me
matter.
up on the deal.
He had to do what he had to do.
Morrow and his
Yeah.
brother
Unfortunately, by the time of the
specialise in
heresy, he
archaeology.
completely lost it. He's the only Primarch
I
who
can
was
see the future.
basically.
All the
He's
trouble.
also the only Primarch who was
His
assassinated.
caravan was ambushed less than an
And he
hour
let
Well, I
it happen.
heard.
Figured
Well, I
whoever
heard
was
that
responsible would be long gone and far
he
away
did
from
as
the
instructed by the Emperor, which
You
was to
think they're working
basically,
for the Silver Talon, too?
like, basically
You think
terrorize
it's the
people
Silver
into
Talon
fearing the
killed
Imperium and
Theorex.
not challenging them.
Or
The other Primarchs banded together and didn't like what he was doing, and basically wanted, but told
As soon as I
told the
found
Emperor
out,
it needed to
Not
be
exactly.
stopped.
you know,
And then the Emperor turned on
That
the
cerebral
Night Lords.
implant. What did that come
Kind
from?
of. The Emperor turns on the legions a lot.
maybe
The
they
problem
would
with the
have
Night
been
Lords
upset, or
essentially
maybe
boiled
it's
down
something that
to
you
so
know who
every
it's
legion
going for,
takes
which is
people from
why
the
it
from
made
their home
some
planet to
sense
make new
to take
Marines,
on
right?
you.
Yeah.
Some take it
So
from
I
every
guess
planet
we'll
they go
find
to, but it's
out
usually the
one
same
way or
planet.
the other.
Comrade Kurz started
Saving
getting
my
people
life
from
just so you can
Nostromo
get
who
me
were just
killed.
criminals. He didn't
Yeah.
My
get,
kind of deal.
top of the
A
range
shame.
people,
Yeah.
sea
This is
soldiers.
the only
So they
way
were all
going.
just criminals and violent and
out.
psychotic.
Yeah.
Thanks for tipping me
And it
off
kind of
about the
broke
Silver
Kurz, so
Talon.
he ended up destroying
If I
Nostromo.
were less
Yeah.
generous,
I mean,
man, I might
a
suggest you
couple of
read my
Primarchs
deck,
destroyed
you
their
know?
home planets,
But
the
then-
traitors primarily.
No,
Yeah.
But he ended up
There's a
destroying it. So he was just, he kind of decided he didn't like his sons. He didn't care
You
about
won't
them
get it
very
on your
much.
own.
Yeah.
Wanna bet?
There's another Primarch who
Oh,
hated his sons
I'd
more, and
wager.
we'll get to him.
I know who you're talking about.
But he also hated everyone. But,
Yeah.
Conrad's
Just don't
kind of
forget,
tragic in his own way
the
because he
officer
was
said-
adamant that he couldn't change anything.
Oh.
Damn it.
Okay, next one. I like this one. Blood Angels.
You might
Blood
say
Angels are kind of the
The Iron
favored
Bank.
sons.
Orla.
So they
Sanguinius
were Sanguinius is their Primarch. So from what I understand, the Blood Angels were a very powerful chapter. Had a taste for blood and flesh.
To a degree, their gene seed malfunction basically meant they had to drink blood.
Yeah. And they're also Sanguinius is also the Blood Angels are special in the fact that they didn't swear allegiance to Sanguinius. He swore allegiance to the Blood Angels, and he had a psychic connection with them all. Correct?
Yeah, essentially. He
He was very different in how he saw his chapter compared
So
to a lot of the other
he-
Primarchs.
Sanguinius, one thing to remember about him is he also could see the future.
Mm.
But unlike Comrade Kurz, he actually believed it could be changed. That was kind of the big difference. So he wasn't as beholden to it. He did love his sons. People
Yeah,
loved
that's
him.
him.
The only reason he
Hold
wasn't
down,
made
says he saw
better,
something in it.
like the War Master, like Horus was primarily because he was a mutant. He had wings.
Yeah. Well, he had wings, and didn't he also like a bit of blood?
Well, the blood drinking for everything Space Marines can do is pretty
Where I
minimal.
could find them. Is that
It's still different.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you got to remember, everyone thought that Space Marines were kind of inhuman anyway. They were a bit scared of them. People were scared of Space Marines in the Horus Heresy. They weren't angels. They were kind of terrifying.
Okay, next we got the ADHD boys, the Iron Hands.
Iron Hands are weird because their Primarch was best friends with Fulgrim.
Yep, Ferrus Manus.
Ferrus Manus was best friends with Fulgrim. Fulgrim was the one who gave him the name of the Gorgon.
Yep.
And he was a bit weird. He was so he had metal hands that were covered in like living metal.
Yeah.
And his sons believed that meant they should replace everything with like metallics. He didn't want them to do that. He hated the fact they did that. It was weird to him that they did it. I'll just go straight into the mission. So it kind of freaked them out a bit. Also, if you think blood runes, blood sipping, I can't believe you didn't address the Space Wolves' habit of eating their enemies. They ate their enemies. They also turned into wolves. There is the line of "there's no wolves on Fenris," and that's true. Basically, Fenris is the home of the Space Wolves. It's very inhospitable. The only way to do it was to change some of the genetic pieces of humans, and that turned some of them into wolves. And that was pushed even further in the Space Wolves, who become the Wolfen.
So the 11th Legion is unknown, destroyed. Yep. The 12th Legion, what were the Warhounds?
Warhounds became the Sons of Horus.
Nope, the Warhounds became the World
they're
Eaters.
the World Eaters, aren't they? There's a lot of weird names for everything. It's the Lunar Wolves who become the Sons of Horus.
Yeah.
So the Warhounds have the tragic side of they had to have Angron. And Angron was bipolar anger incarnate.
Well, he didn't care for them and basically abandoned them, didn't he?
He couldn't care for them. So he was landed on a planet called Nucea, I think it is. They made him into a... You say that, Eva, but then, Magnus was Odin, so who's a Viking now? So they dropped in there and they put something called the Butcher's Nails in, which meant he only got a moment's peace when he killed things.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's implied that his ability, Angron's original ability, if he'd been able to, mature as a Primarch, was as a empath.
Really?
Yeah, but the Butcher's Nails fucked him up so much, it completely removed that ability. It made him that he could only kill people. He wanted to die on Nucea. They were doing a final fight. He was the only Primarch who didn't win his planet. Oh dear, someone's having a bad day.
Had quite a chip on his shoulder, from what I understand.
Yeah,
and his sons consistently tried to win his favor, but he never cared.
The Emperor saved him, not his other gladiators.
Yeah.
Which led to all the other gladiators dying. Angron ended up carrying their skulls on his belt as a sort of thing. And Angron hated the Emperor for that. He also hated the other Primarchs.
Which is why during the Horus Heresy he turned on the Emperor, and even though he had no contact with his sons, they followed him.
Essentially. His sons also... he killed a lot of his sons when he first met them. The only one he didn't kill was Khan, who managed to calm him down and had him look at his sons as kind of soldiers. And they were nuts. He put the Butcher's Nails, the things that fucked up his life, into his sons. He forced the World Eaters to have them.
Yeah.
So he wasn't a nice guy even then.
Okay, next chapter, most well-known chapter.
Ultramarines?
Apparently Ultramarines, yes.
Ultramarines are a weird one. So everyone hated the Ultramarines for a time due to Matt Ward, who kind of made them his favourite chapter, which is weirdly what...
I was going to say, weren't they kind of overplayed by him?
Well, the Ultramarines have always been the...
God damn.
They're the kind of poster boys. And Matt Ward played them, so he made them the bestest chapter ever, which I feel is the same thing that kind of happened to the Dark Angels, which is why I don't really like Dark Angels. And it's sort of... But yeah, they're a chapter who are very saying what Robotic Gulliman is good at doesn't sound exciting in a kind of manga-esque, all look at us doing fighty-fighty. He was very good at organizing.
Yeah. Well, he organized a lot of the sort of like he was obviously very good at organizing, winning a war when they were warring for planets, but wasn't he also very good at restructuring and rebuilding afterwards?
Yeah, he was good at restructuring, rebuilding. He was good at the actual warfare. He could bring... Well, they weren't Marine suits because they lost more than most. The other thing with Robute Gilliman that's also really important to remember, and I told you this earlier, Alex, is he's the only one with a stable bloody parental influence.
Yeah.
Which is why he's so normal. He doesn't have all the issues the others have. He had a mum who at one point told another Primarch to essentially fuck off when he threatened her. So you don't mess with Mama McCrag. He also had a dad who was a very good influence on him. So he had a very different sort of experience than the other Primarchs did.
Yeah.
And
nice.
People think he was a bit boring in the books, except for the point where, fun fact, when he fought a bunch of World Bearers, they shot him out of a spaceship. And suddenly came back without a helmet and killed a bunch of them in the middle of space by holding his breath.
God damn.
That he just ripped them apart. Horus famously said that people think Robute doesn't understand war, but he understands war as well as I do. He was also the only Primarch who Horus wished he had on his side.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, especially now he's come back, because, like Eva, he doesn't like the space babies either. He finds them weird.
Okay, next chapter, the Dusk Raiders.
They became the Death Guard.
Yes.
Yeah, Death Guard are a weird one, because they have Primarch Mortarion is the ultimate in... What the fuck is going on? Oh, I'm pole dancing.
You're pole dancing.
Ooh, look at me, Necromunda boys. Oh look, Eva. You can be on an Astra Militarum guilty. You have fantastic specialism opportunities. I assume one of them is dying. Yeah, Death Guard Mortarion, they come from a pretty shitty planet. It was entirely poisonous. Mortarion's dad was a dick. He fought a war to kill him. The Emperor saved him, but Mortarion viewed that as him taking his chance to kill his dad. And he kind of held a grudge about that. I have no idea where I'm going, by the way. Well, I know where I'm going there, but I have no idea how to get there. Maybe I'll go down.
Okay, from what I was actually watching a video about these guys today.
Barbarous, that's his planet.
Thousand Suns, Magnus the Red.
Magnus the Red and the Thousand Suns. So he landed on Psychic Planet. He is a
well,
psychic.
he is the second most powerful psychic, bar the Emperor, isn't he?
Yes, but he also got tricked. So
I know about that. So they technically had the most tragic fall, didn't they?
Kind of. They had a fall that was orchestrated, but they didn't fall as far as the Emperor's children did, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they... how to explain it? So they originally had a major gene seed issue where they would heavily mutate.
Yeah.
Yes, it is called a kill team because they just die. It's part of being in the Guard. But they heavily mutate, stairs, and then they die. Magnus the Red ended up going into the warp and contacting a demon in the warp, who he thought he'd tricked, he'd cajoled into telling him how to save his troops.
Yeah.
Except it was actually Tzeentch, and it was a trick.
Didn't it show him Horus getting corrupted?
He learned that later. So he did all that, and he sacrificed his eye to save his men. And then, much later, they had Psychers, but then other chapters said, we don't really like you having Psychers because it's a bit weird. The Space Wolves were one of the main, along with Mortarion, who famously hated Psychers.
Yeah.
Because his dad was a Psyker. And it ended up with the Council of Nicaea, where he was told, don't use psychic abilities. You can still have your men are Psychers, there's no getting rid of that, but don't use them. Because it connects with the warp. And Magnus was at that time peering heavily into the warp. Because he beat that warp entity and saved his men, he thought he was more powerful than he was.
Yeah.
And the whole thing happened, and he broke the Council of Nicaea, and the Space Wolves were sent to bring him in. not destroy him. But Horus,
Oh, really?
who nobody knew that Horus was a traitor at this point. Horus
Yeah.
told the Space Wolves they needed to destroy him.
Yeah.
So it was all a trick, because Horus knew if he tried to destroy him, then the Space Wolves would essentially make the Thousand Sons join them.
Yeah.
Jericho's gonna
But
have
it
to
also turned out
unleash
they
you
had
for
some
this.
dodgy stuff as well. They had a spy within the Space Wolves. He did know Horus was falling and he tried to stop him, but he was entirely tricked by Siege, who revealed everything that was happening was his kind of ploy. So basically, don't mess with Warp.
Did you make it?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Well, didn't he? Wasn't the reason why the Space Wolves were sent after him because he? I heard that he had a vision about Horus
They'll have him in one of the armored cars.
being corrupted. He tried to send a psychic message to the Emperor warning him, which obviously meant he'd broken the rule of not using his psychic abilities, and the Space Wolves were sent to apprehend him, but Horus basically said that they had new orders and it was to kill him.
Kind of. So he...
But that also meant that the Space Wolves would be fighting the Thousand Sons, which meant that when Horus tried to go for the Emperor, that would be 2 legions that would be out of the way.
Yeah, well, he didn't want to fight the Space Wolves at the best of times, because it would
Yeah.
end. What Magnus did was more than just break the Edict of Nicaea when he went to the Emperor. So he astral projected himself to the Imperial Palace. And the Emperor this time was trying to build a webway, because it meant he wouldn't rely on his ships crossing through the warp, traveling slow distances. Magnus broke it when he turned up, releasing thousands of demons into the Imperial Palace and causing a huge mess. So the Emperor was not best pleased. And he told Magnus not to do it. And he still did it anyway, because Magnus's flaw, if he had one, was he believed he knew better than he did.
Yeah.
So that's why the Space Wolves were sent to arrest him, not kill him. That was Horus.
Yeah. But it also 2 birds, 1 stone, because it meant the Space Wolves would be sent elsewhere.
Yeah, well, Horus wasn't a huge fan of fighting every legion, and the Space Wolves had experience fighting Marines, which the others didn't.
Also, I heard that the Thousand Sons were... they were actually pulled from a lot of the... they were the sons of people from Terra, like high birth families.
A lot of the Marines had people from Terra initially who were replaced by the Homeworld people. The noble sons were actually the Emperor's children more than the Thousand Sons. The Thousand Sons were primarily Prospero, because the Prospero had the psychic gifts.
Oh, fair enough.
And they were separated into things, as one person pointed out when I did that TikTok about Odin. One of them was called the Corvidae, who specialized in psychic, seeing the future, which was a bit more Odin-y, you know, 2 ravens and all that.
Yeah. Okay, next one, big one. The Lunar Wolves.
Lunar Wolves became the sons of Horus. They are also the only one who doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
They completely disbanded after the Horus Heresy. They had a great move called the Spear Tip. That's the one they're famous for, where they'd send in the big unit and then follow up and do a little bit of hitty-hitty. But they were entirely focused on Horus too much, except for all the ones who weren't, who died horribly. Much like that guy.
Well, Horus was... I mean, while we're talking about...
Horus is a confusing character.
So he was known as the Emperor's favorite son.
Yeah.
Which is why, after he proved himself on multiple occasions, he essentially... Oh, Jesus Christ.
Chunky.
He essentially rose his rank. And told him to change the name of his legion to basically show his stance.
Which he didn't want to do.
He didn't want to do, but then he thought that the other Primarchs would think that they were on the same level as him. So he did.
Yeah, you have to remember, for everyone who says Horus was just intrinsically a bad guy, basically got given full control of the entire Imperial army at that point, which is, you know, Space Marine legions and other.
Oh yeah,
Primarchs.
he was second to the Emperor, basically.
At that point, he wasn't even second. He was the leading military. It's a lot, even for a super man to take on, really.
Yeah.
And it drove him a little nuts. And then he got stabbed by a poisonous knife by Nurgle, and there was Erebus, who I don't want to talk about Erebus. Because fuck Erebus. I'll mention him briefly when I get into the world pieces. And then he basically got corrupted, but he didn't get corrupted. The thing with Horus is he never truly trusted the Chaos Gods until later. But he was lied to. He was told that the Emperor had abandoned them, and that the Emperor planned to kill them when it was done. Which it was kind of right, because the Emperor was at that point giving control over most of the Imperium to humans. And you know, from a Space Marine's point of view, why am I being told what to do by a human?
Well, they saw themselves as not human at that point.
Well, they weren't. I mean, humans barely saw them as humans.
Okay, so moving on from there, we have the Imperial Heralds.
Ah, the Word Bearers.
Yes.
Also, priests with guns.
Yes.
So the Word Bearers and their chaplain Erebus started believing that the Emperor was a god before anyone did. Funny fact, their Libera, I can't remember exactly what it's called. They wrote a book about the Emperor being a god, which is now used by the Imperium at large. They are also the most ardent Chaos followers because Erebus is someone who can't just let something lie. He needed a god.
Well, I was gonna say, didn't they?
So why is this on a train?
The fuck if I know. So from my understanding, the Word Bearers basically talked about the Emperor like he was a god was it their home planet?
It wasn't on their home planet initially. Erebus had a vision of a godlike figure coming to them. They had wars on their planet about religion, and Erebus.
Because I know that.
Oh my god, my dog just turned into smoke.
Yes. So from what I know, he basically, him and his Word Bearers started to depict the Emperor as a god. The Emperor found out, wasn't a fan, was gonna space wolf the fuck out of him, and then the other Primarchs were like, show leniency, stop fucking killing legions, please.
Yeah.
He listened, and he basically just demolished what was their holy city on a planet.
Yeah, he demolished the planet that was the Word Bearers had set up with him as a god. The
Killed a
Ultramarines
fair
did it.
few Space Marines, and basically said you need to repledge yourselves, which they did. And then two of the Primarch's advisors, turned to him and went, there are other gods, you know, and that was the...
It's a bit more than two advisors. Erebus was an advisor, but Cor Phaeron was his dad.
Well, I heard that he had two advisors that were chaos worshippers.
They were. So Cor Phaeron was his surrogate dad, who was made into a pseudo-Space Marine, because he was too old to be a Space Marine, but they kind of did the transformation on him.
Yeah.
And he was his dad. He surrogately raised him. And
Yeah.
Erebus was very bad at kind of stopping. Oh, look, Eva! Sentinels! Everyone loves Sentinels. And that was a whole thing. And they basically convinced him to go on a pilgrimage. And he asked Magnus about it. He said, you know, Magnus, what are the things that live in the warp? Because Magnus looked into the warp all the time. And Magnus told him, you don't want to know. Just stop. And he didn't listen. Once again, Magnus was not a bad person. Like Magnus didn't want to fall to chaos initially.
No, well, from what I understand, like there was quite a few of them. The ones that were directly affected by the heresy, which was Horus and Magnus, to start off with, anyway. Neither of them were bad. They were flawed, but they weren't bad, and then it didn't end up going well anyway. The Chaos Gods played them good.
Oh, the Chaos Gods are very good at playing people. It's what they do. But yeah. Oh shit. Whee!
Okay, this is one of the ones that you like, Salamanders.
Salamanders are bros. So their Primarch is Vulcan. He is one of the most human Primarchs. He's not the best warrior. He's not the best of strategist. He's very good at building things. That feels like that should be a door, but alright. Also, why would you put a laser sight on a shotgun?
From what I've read about the salamanders, they're basically heroes
Yeah,
in
essentially.
the worst way possible.
Vulcan was one of the few Primarchs who viewed humans as good, rather than as an annoyance or something, you know. to
Yeah,
be
they would
ignored.
they would sacrifice their lives to save
Yeah.
basically their charges.
And part of that is
Um,
because Salamanders were the only chapter who, or the only legion who. Why is this in a train? Anyway, they were the only legion who still had contact with their family members after they became a space marine, which is kind of a big deal. Okay.
Oh dear.
God, it's Optimus Grime. Yeah, he's not gonna win.
But didn't that also mean that from what I read as well, any operations they overtook, they usually had a lot of casualties.
Yes, they'd happily sacrifice themselves to save people, and it got worse as it, went on.
Yeah, they ended up. I think they went into an incursion with 5,000 and came out with 1,000.
Yeah, they lost a lot of Marines just because they cared about people more. Which,
Yeah.
I kind of get.
No, fair enough. No, fair enough.
It's sort of tragic in their own way.
Didn't Vulcan also get captured at one point and tortured?
Yeah, he got captured by Comrade Kurz, but Vulcan's a perpetual, so he can't actually die.
Yeah, he can't die. He's currently lost, isn't he? Like
Yeah, they
nobody
don't know
knows
where
where he is currently.
He disappeared. He said, if you gather all my relics, I'll come back. But that's a big thing with a lot of Primarchs. They vanish, and then they say, if you do this, I'll come back. Like Lehman Russ, he's gone. He said, when the wolf time calls, I'll come. And everyone went, right, so we need to name everything after wolves, right? Which is what they did.
Everybody, 12 o'clock is now wolf o'clock. No, it's not what I meant, you bitches!
I'm not coming back. I'm going to go eat a rock.
Do you have any Heelys?
I do,
Use them!
but I don't need them.
Oh. When the time of wolf is upon us, 12 o'clock is wolf o'clock. Fuck!
Hi, welcome to, we've got the Wolf Guard, the Wolfen, the Wolfies, the Wolfo. Go, Puffer! Fight the robot! Not sure how it'll work.
Okay, this is another one I was learning about today. The Raven Guard.
Raven Guard are the emo sad boys.
Yes, emo sad boys. More for was an assassination. What weren't the
Stealth
Raven Guard
operatives.
more stealth ops? Yeah.
Yeah, they were stealth ops with a good bit of kind of recon and everything else. I cannot recall their Primarch's name. It's completely escaped me.
Korax.
That's right. He was kind of nobody really knew much about him. He was quite quiet.
Yeah.
He was also one of the most anti-traitors. Like, he's still hunting Lorgar in the Wolf. He's become a giant bird at the minute. So he basically became a greater demon. You do the hokey pokey, and that's when I'm coming back. Well, I'm currently doing the robody.
Oh god! Oh god! Oh god!
But yeah, so the Raven Guard were completely decimated at Istavan, and it kind of didn't help. But they're very good at jump packs and stabbing people.
Well, I was going to say wasn't that due to the fact that they were ambushed and it became basically a firefight, which they weren't well versed in.
Istavan is a weird thing.
One of the cars is all locked down. The prisoner must be inside.
And then the final legion is the Alpha Legion.
Alpha Legion are the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega.
Or the Alpharius and the Omegon.
Yeah, basically. So technically, the Alpha Legion were the first Legion found, or the first Primarch, which was Omegron. They are a Legion who specialize in essentially covert ops. They are the greatest
Grapnel.
co-ops. Yep, this game has a grapnel.
Yeah, but aren't they covert ops to the point where they have spies arguably in all legions?
It's convoluted. So they once got told off by Gulliman for taking too long to take planets. So what they did is they went into a planet, it took a few months, and they captured it, losing 1 Marine in the process. And they did it by telling people that they were coming to do it, and everyone got freaked out and they started killing each other until there was nobody left. All the infrastructure was fine, and they just wandered in. And Gulliman said, well, it's not really to the spirit of the thing, and they were like, yeah, well, fuck you, got mine.
Proved you wrong. Fuck you.
They also have the most convoluted loyalty because they either are or aren't traitors, depending on who you ask.
Yes, because they were twin brothers who pretended to both be Alferes.
Yeah, everyone pretends to be Alferes, because Alferes is also the smallest Primarch. Nice hat. Not nice shorts.
Very
See,
crotch heavy.
This is why people tell you to wear clean underwear, so if you do die, people know you're wearing clean underwear. Although if you're a servitor, you don't really get a choice. But anyway, that is all the Space Marine Legions, which we kind of rushed through, and there's a lot more to
No,
them.
I know there's a lot more, but we don't want to go too deep. We've only got like a few hours on this stream.
Oh, true.
And I don't want to go into the legions too much.
Crap.
Oh. Oh.
So, Heresy. For anyone wondering what the Horus Heresy is, I didn't mean to do that. The Horus Heresy is the event where Horus betrayed the Emperor and it started a decade-long war. It's very convoluted. A lot happened, but essentially, at the end of it, the traitors attacked Terra, and they lost.
They did lose, however, it came at the cost of Sanguinius and, to an extent, the Emperor.
Yeah, so Sanguinius ended up dying,
Mm-hmm.
and the... Why would you have Iron Maiden? What is with this train? Sanguinius died, the Emperor was put in a chair, and Horus was killed to the degree where narratively he cannot come back.
Yeah.
His soul was obliterated from the warp because the Emperor was not a happy chappy.
Oh yeah, didn't his soul go into the warp and the Emperor fucking basically went in after him and fucked it?
Kind of. So Horus, at his last moment, realized what he'd done. So the Emperor essentially managed to remove all the Chaos Corruption, and Horus saw what he had become. And then the Emperor killed him. But the Emperor was grievously wounded. Horus had also been grievously wounded by Leman Russ, who stabbed him with a spear.
Yeah.
The other legions, Conrad Kurz died later. Vulcan remained around until the War of the Beast, which was dealing with orcs. Dawn disappeared because he had a whole thing. He lost his plot bit. He went to chase Perturabo. There was the Iron Cage, which led to most of Dawn's legion being slaughtered, but it kind of chilled him out a bit. Then he reputedly died. They found his hand.
The Emperor didn't finish high school.
Of the traitor legions, it was Conrad Kurz, and that was about it for who died, because unfortunately they become Chaos Gods. Or they became Demon Princes, so they can't actually die. The irony is...
consistently just touched by the warp, aren't they?
Yeah, but the irony is that now GW can use them to die constantly. So every hero beats them and murders them at numerous points because they can come back. Poor Angron dies constantly. He's got a rule in the game where he dies and comes back. So, you know, didn't work out great for them. But the main thing to know for Space Marine 2 is you've got traitor legions. The ones who are turning up in the game appear to be the Thousand Sons, who are all
Yeah,
psychers.
Thousand Sons of the traders.
But the majority of Thousand Sons are dust,
Yes.
because they started mutating rapidly. Ahriman, who was the leader, cast a spell called the Rubric of Ahriman, which he thought would remove all of the Chaos Corruption. It turned most of them to dust.
Yep.
So they are sentient dust. So if you want to deal with them, throw a vacuum cleaner at them. Or just attach a sword to a Roomba, you know, whatever floats your boat.
And to go into detail on the Emperor after he was gravely wounded, he was placed on the Golden Throne.
Yep, which means he eats 1,000 psychers a day.
Yep, 1,000 psychers a day, and how long has he been on that throne? 10,000 years?
Yeah, basically 30k to 40k. He also is in theory both alive and not.
Yes, he's essentially psychically active, but his body is basically useless.
Yeah, he also serves as the Astronomicon, so he is the reason that ships can travel the warp. Which is why they're really nervous, because there's theories that if they take him off the chair, he will become...
Resurrect.
Yeah, he'll relive. But if they do, they lose the Astronomicon, which means they can't travel. And Chaos recently destroyed Cadia, beating the Guard. Sorry, Eva. So they created a whole new Eye of Terror. and kind of split the galaxy in half. But now the Loyalists have, you know, 2 Primarchs back.
Yep. Don't know how much of a difference that's going to make.
Quite an impressive one, because Gulliman basically completely saved the Imperium. His organizational skills were great at bringing them all back. Like, he reorganized the Imperium, he fixed the armies, he brought back... Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's fine, I've got...
Stims!
He brought back... well, he created a new version of Space Marines, which we'll get onto, the Primaris Marines.
Yeah.
He reorganized the Imperium, he got rid of all the leaders on Terra who were shit, which, trust me, were a lot of them.
Yeah. Did he do anything about the religion?
So he doesn't like the religion, but he was convinced by Saint Celestine and a few others that it was better to have it at the minute because it was rather necessary. Because the Imperium's a pretty shitty place to live.
Yeah, I've heard. I was watching a video on jobs in the Imperium, and it is not a good time.
No. So the majority of, you know, to remove it would be removing the ecclesiarchy, major, you know, parts of the way the Imperium works. It wouldn't be feasible. That is a lot of corpses.
Yep. Standard.
Must be lunch.
Boring?
Oh, hey, I'm here to free a Goliath.
I told you starving's you can't. What the? You lucky day, meathead.
Yeah,
Now what
there's
the
also
hell
a
do
feeling
those
of if he
Iron
gets rid of it,
Vipers
what
want so
happens
bad?
next.
Who are you, skinny?
Like, he needs...
Well, didn't he... And I can't remember exactly what it's... There's an act he put into place if he died.
Those dumb
So
Or if he was gravely wounded. I can't remember what it's called.
I
It's
can't recall.
Is it the Terminus Act or something?
Yeah, something like... His big thing was dealing with the Inquisition, who don't like him very much, but he also... The Inquisition is a whole thing, and trying to figure out their motives is next to impossible.
I mean, let's be real here. The only time I've seen the Inquisition was in Space Marine 1, and fuck 'em.
See, you say that, but you've got to remember... So the Inquisition is a clandestine organization in the Imperium whose basic purpose is to stop the root spread of chaos, xenomorphs, and everything else, right?
Yeah.
Now, they are very heavy-handed because the Inquisition have the ability to destroy a planet if they choose to. Memes make it seem like the Inquisition destroy planets constantly. It's very rare.
Yeah, for all the use that was.
Because they have to explain why they did it. It's a bigger sin to suddenly destroy a planet for no good reason.
Yeah, okay.
Where's that gonna take me?
Gave up in the end.
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was sat there.
Warlock territory.
I'm trying to kill you, Ben. He's like,
No. How do I stop it?
Ah.
Head up front.
Gonna shoot him or let him go? I've got to save him. That's my mission.
Hey, Joshua.
But yeah, the Inquisition... But to call them dicks, you do have to remember what happens if they're wrong. So if you let chaos corrupt the planet, it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, I never get that level of excitement from people when I turn up with the capitals hey. Just saying. Bit hurt.
Eva says hi.
hi, Eva!
She's also saying hi to Joshua.
Emotionally compromised here, but yeah, no, it's fine.
Liz just opened the door to say hi, and I can just see Joshua sat in his little chair watching Baby Shark.
God, you're back on Baby Shark? I thought you would have had enough of that last time.
Oh, it's fine. Nobody cares. Look! Look! Baby Joshua. Jesus Christ.
That's
there he is.
It's the second most cute Joshua. Just saying.
Right, who's the first?
Me. You know what? You know what?
Hey. Oh, say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Mwah. He is well. He's going to be an Inquisitor when he goes.
I
I doubt it.
There are good Inquisitors.
I've not seen any yet. I think that's why I have such a negative opinion on the Inquisition.
As I said, the Inquisition is quite hard to, like, what? Fucking hell, alright guys, chill. You gotta remember that the Inquisitors have to be quite harsh anyway, because if they're wrong, bad things happen.
Oh yeah, terrible things happen. I mean, to be fair, at the end of Space Marine 1,
I mean,
I wasn't really mad at the Inquisition. I was just like, wow, these guys seem like fucking like fun at parties.
oh, they can be dicks. And there are bad Inquisitors, you know, there's no doubt about that.
No, but like, you're right. I understand where he's coming. Leandros can fuck off.
Oh yeah, well, Leandros represents one of the flaws of the Ultramarines, where they're overly...
Well, I wouldn't even say that that's a flaw of the Ultramarines. I'd say that that's just a flaw of certain Space Marines.
Well, because he does it to the Codex Astartes, which the post-heresy
The Ultramarines, well, the Ultramarines made, didn't they?
Guilliman wrote it, but the post-heresy Ultramarines are fanatical to it. It's one of their biggest issues. They're not good. So there's a story about how the Codex is written as a way to deal with anything. And when Guilliman did it, you know, he'd deal with... he had war games against Corvus Corax, and he couldn't beat him at all. Right up until he figured out Corvus Corax's tricks, and then he beat him every time. Because Guilliman was very good at adapting his tactics, and he adapted the Codex. The Marines are not good at adapting the Codex.
Yeah.
Which leads to the issue of they have the Codex and they follow it to the letter, but certain groups of Marines, Titus is a rarity in the Ultramarines where he says, you know,
well, this is the thing. I think Titus is such a beloved character because he's not a standard sort of character within the Ultramarines.
no.
Like he's got quite a refreshing open outlook. There was I was watching a retrospective on Space Marine today. And there's I didn't know Mark Strong voiced him first of all. As soon as I got told it was him, I knew. And I'm super sad that he's not reprising his role because God, he's got a good voice.
I'm in.
Fair.
I'm gonna stop it.
Yeah, that's what I said while playing it recently. But
I mean, yeah, people hate the chapter but love the individuals. I like Rabute Guilliman. I really like him as a character now because the Plague Wars made him quite interesting. It also had him, the Emperor, take over his body and slap Nurgle in the
yeah,
face.
Mark Strong's not voicing him. I think, to be fair, Mark Strong's like tripled in popularity since he voiced Titus.
True. Quite a lot of money and
so
focus.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's more just he's doing movies fucking
Also, this
all
is
the
the
time
trade.
now. That fucking about time we got here.
Well, I've killed a lot of people.
Um,
But yeah, so that's and then the Primaris Marines, which I was getting to, are essentially a new version of Space Marines that Guilliman had put into development before he went into a coma.
yeah.
Which Fulgrim put him in, and then he was woken up by his big titty goth Eldar waifu, which we all understand.
Also, Eva, the person voicing Titus in the new one is the guy that plays Rollo in Vikings, which I'm still okay with.
Yeah, fair. But yeah,
Because he's a handsome boy. And he's a good actor.
that's... God, this guy looks like a douche.
I can't believe you've never finished this before.
I finished it.
That's not what the trophies are saying.
Yeah, I finished it on PS4.
But it's not PS5. I'm okay with this. Yeah, exactly. A Viking is voicing him now.
Should have been voicing this space. Just saying. Although I'm going to make my character a Black Templar because I play Black Templars, who are crazy.
I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards Space Wolves, but at the same time, Blood Angels also look good.
The only issue I have with Space Wolves is I don't like the armor color. You know, kind of grey.
I like that. That's the thing.
Worrying about the price is going to
And plus, like, I still find the concept that they're. I heard how they train their fucking their initiates,
Eva.
and they just put them in full blown armor in the middle of a battle and just go, right, win,
Eva.
and that's how they do it.
Bolter.
Oh, It's a bolter.
Maybe Emperor.
I'm a bit worried they will ruin Titus and make him more stereotypical. We'll see. I think they know what they've got with Titus because they did make him quite beloved.
So what'll it be?
Furry drunk Vikings, like I said.
Where have
Alex,
you
go
been?
to chapter.
train
Fuck
to
off.
I can't remember if this bolter is a good
yeah.
bolter.
You
It's
heard
rare
they've
in games.
just been
Bolters are good.
outlawed,
They're usually
right?
bad. It varies. But anyway, yeah.
I want Leandros to be in it.
Missed
Primaris
opportunity.
Marines are
Wanna know
basically
something
advanced space marines. They're a
Word
new
is
version.
they're trying to get their hands
Are
on
they?
more
I mean, what do you mean by advanced? What's the difference?
Oh, you'll have to find
They've
that
got
out for
some different
yourself.
genes.
I might
They're
just do
bigger
that.
and they're stronger.
And collect that bounty myself
Okay.
while I'm at it.
And also, normal space marines can become Primaris,
Ooh.
but they can die when they do it. So you know, it's a bit. up
Well,
and down.
you can die when you just become a space marine.
True. They're the Enclave in power. Yeah, kind of.
It shouldn't
It's a
be like
fair
that.
statement of them.
Listen,
To have a nice arc, I'm just memeing. No, I want Leandros to be in it, but I want him to like get corrupted by chaos.
Also, this guy is. I did not need to be right by the V on this guy. That is.
Oh,
That is
this is-
crotch level.
this is now a scene from Deadpool.
Oh yeah, Titus is Primaris. All Marine games now
This
will be
place,
Primaris.
Iron Vipers.
They're replacing the Firstborn with Primaris in the game as well.
I didn't know if he was Primaris. I
He
knew.
is. It's a Primaris helmet.
Oh no, he is. Yeah, because he during the because I think it's is it 1,000 years between 1 and 2?
Something like that, yeah.
It's either 100 or 1,000. I can't remember which. No, he is Primaris. I remember. I think I was talking to you about it actually. I was talking to somebody about it because somebody mentioned it to me, and I was like, "What's that?" And you just said it's a super space marine,
Yeah, that's basically the only way to look at it.
and I was like, "Ooh!" But I think somebody also told me that that's the reason why he's been demoted.
Yeah,
But I
feels
think
like,
he's
yeah.
been demoted because they were like, "No heretic, but demotion."
The concept of putting a stock on a bolter feels counterintuitive.
In fact, I think you told me. I'm pretty sure that you said that somebody else was promoted to captain whilst he was basically being.
He technically, his position in the game doesn't make sense because there was another captain in the actual lore.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Wasn't it? He went Primaris as a way to redeem himself because it's so dangerous. I mean, maybe.
It's
From what I
possible.
understand, he's still treated with quite a lot of hesitance
Well,
because boy was touching the warp.
yeah, people don't like people touching the warp, which seems unfair. I mean, who doesn't touch the warp at some point?
Well, given that in Space Marine 2 you're fighting the Tyranids.
Yeah.
Do you wanna go into them a little bit?
Okay, so the Tyranids are an oddity in the lore because they don't really feature in the Horus Heresy or anything like that. The Tyranids came from outside space.
Mm-hmm.
They're a bioorganism that uses a hive mind, so everything in them is a bioorganism. Spaceships, bioorganism.
He was going to be a librarian.
They eat planets.
Yeah.
So they consume everything on the planet. They use that mass to add to them to create more Tyranids.
Oh,
They are.
I wanted to ask you this today because I heard something in passing on a video and I wasn't sure what to make of it. Did the Tyranids make the Gene Stealers?
Yes.
Damn.
God
Think anyone's
damn.
gonna care
Does that mean
about
Gene
your
Stealers might be in Space Marine 2?
Highly likely.
Oh no. I didn't like them in Deathwing.
Well, now you're going to see more of them. Ooh,
I was
bolter.
making jokes about them stealing denim to cope.
Yeah, no, Gene Stealers are the Tyranid organisms that they send to corrupt planets. There's actually Gene Stealer cults. So what the reason they're called Gene Stealers is they can... I've got to explain a Gene Stealer cult. This will be interesting. So the Gene Stealers have a thing called the Gene Stealer kiss, where they can impregnate someone's...
Gene Stealer Keith?
They use their tongues and they stab it into you, and it impregnates you with another Gene Stealer, right?
Oh. So very alien.
Very alien, but the difference is the human doesn't die when they give birth to them.
Oh.
Instead, the human then views the alien they just created as a
As
perfect
a
being.
child. Oh dear.
and then that pushes them to then go and have more children, and children get more and more human looking as they go. So the first generation will look kind of second generation will look third generation will look, oh look, a strawberry, and then etc 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 until they look perfectly human, and they corrupt the entire level. And they believe that the Tyranids are essentially star gods.
Thank you for the pets, Eva.
And they want to bring the Tyranids, so they do everything they can to weaken the thing, and then the Tyranids turn up. And usually what happens is their last moments are spent with the Tyranid hive mind that's controlled them snapping off, and they get to see the monsters that are their children before their children rip them apart.
Oh, no.
Or they march happily into... So when the Tyranids take over a planet, they basically have these pools where they drag all biomass into and it melts, and the Gene Stealer cults will probably just walk into it quite happily.
I feel like we're going to see things like that
More
when
than likely.
we play Space Marine 2. I'm going to need a sensor button.
The Tyranids are also heavily adaptable. So, for instance, if you kill a bunch of Tyranids with a plasma gun, the next generation of Tyranids that turn up that the hive mind spawns on your planet
will have a form of resistance to the plasma gun.
That's why you can't use poison or anything like that against them. But the Tyranids that we've seen are tendrils.
Yeah.
So there's two theories about the Tyranids. Either A, they've already consumed every other galaxy and they're coming from that, and what we're seeing are the tendrils of, massive fleets that will consume everything.
Yeah.
Or something worse is chasing them.
Orcs.
They did fight orcs. One Inquisitor had a great idea to put a bunch of Tyranids and a bunch of orcs against each other.
I feel like that would just create an endless fight.
It did for a while. So you got orcs who got much bigger because they were fighting Tyranids, and then you got Tyranids who got very good at fighting orcs. Eventually, the Tyranids won, partially because Gazgul
big
just...
Gene Wilder fans.
Oh god, gross. Eventually, Gazgul turned up, took all the big orcs, and left the runts. Because Gazgul doesn't...
Well, I mean, from what I know about orcs, they're dicks to everyone.
To a degree, yeah.
Okay, well, let's... So we've talked a lot about the Imperium and the different chapters, and I think we've got some good coverage on that there. We've talked about the Emperor. His possible relevance. Where else to go? I mean, I don't want to ask, because I know you're going to have a lot of information for me about it, and after watching that video, I just think that's so stupid. And after playing Space Marine 1, I really think that's stupid. But I also do think they're a little bit cool with the fact that they just fucking do shit and will shit.
Right.
So, what I'm trying to say is, let's talk about orcs.
Let's talk about orcs, baby! Well, what would you like to know?
So I know that they were a creation of the old ones.
Yep, they were Crocs originally.
They were Crocs originally. They were essentially made to be the opposite of them. Brainless, but extremely versatile. They've not changed much.
They are next to impossible to get rid of. It's one of their big problems.
Yeah, so they're essentially a pandemic on the galaxy. I actually saw a map of where orcs are, and they're so spread.
Oh, they're everywhere.
And random, to the point where if orcs rock up at your planet, either through fungus, because they come from fungus?
Yeah, they're mushrooms.
Fucking mental. So if the fungus shows up on your planet and you don't get rid of it, basically if it's not a small enough amount, you don't get rid of it very quickly, they will more than likely overpopulate, and then eventually, it's not a matter of if but when, your
Eva.
planet is fucked.
Oh, I took his head off. It's rolling. Eva,
Yeah.
gross. That's gross.
I have watched children be born. Stop grossing me out. On to the heroes of 40k. They just vibe and drive cars.
I mean, kind of. So orcs are designed to, because you got to remember what they were designed to fight was the Necromunda, who basically used radiation. So the orcs are designed to be very hard to kill. The willing thing is a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah, it's not as if everything that they will comes to being. It's just that.
So
That's
the joke
happened.
is, the joke with them is if they believe it, it'll happen. You know, like,
Yeah.
that's not strictly true. What they are is the old ones inbuilt certain beliefs into them. So mech boys who build stuff know how to build stuff because they're designed to know how to build stuff.
Yeah.
They also obviously have their gods, Gork and Mork, who came later, but you have to remember that the way gods work in the war is gods are created by belief.
Yeah.
And technically, Gork and Mork have more believers than any other god.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think that they were real until all of the orcs believed they were real, and now they're real.
Basically, yeah. But their kind of belief thing boils down to if it could happen, it will. So the way, like I told you, one of the stories that you have happen where they kind of explain it is the orcs. You have a squad of boys in a truck, right?
Yeah.
Which is an orc transport.
Yes.
And the truck runs out of gas. Now the orc boys go, well, we've run out of gas. The orc knob, who is the leader of the boys, says, well, no, I filled it with gas. And in the orcs' minds, they go, well...
He says he filled it with gas, so he must have filled it with gas.
Yeah, he says he
and
filled
then
it
the
with
car
gas.
will run.
He's bigger than us, so, you know, he's probably telling the truth. So the car will then have enough gas to get them where they're going. It won't suddenly sprout wings and start flying.
It will just work.
Yeah. And that's kind of what it boils down to. Orcs themselves are...
Still mental.
So the orcs themselves are very hard to kill.
Yep.
They've...
I can see it.
Yeah, speaking of Space Marines,
Woo! Where it goes.
that's an Imperial fist. I can tell because he's got fists on his pauldrons. They're very hard to kill. They're very hard to get rid of. They are something like 8 feet tall if they stand up straight, and they get bigger the more they do anything. There is a story where a bunch of Imperials trap an orc, like in a lab, to see what happens if he doesn't fight, and he just got fat.
He got fat.
He got fat and lethargic. Like,
For fuck's sake.
he didn't die, he just got kind of... Basically, he was depressed.
No fight, Blair.
Yeah. Just got... Died orc face.
Oh, God. Oh, there goes his head.
Yeah.
Roly, roly, roly.
I don't know where his head's gone.
It's in a better place.
Started
He started
smoking weed in
weed
video
and
games.
playing video games.
Well, they smoke squigs. They also eat squigs, and they raise squigs. All their hair. You know, you see some orcs with hair.
Morning, Orc. It's time that we do. It's time that we ask you your daily questions. How are you feeling today? I just wants to play League of Legends. Leave me alone.
If I remember correctly, in the story, the orc got out and proceeded to kill all the doctors.
And then he got thin.
I mean, he would have done eventually, yeah. But yeah, orcs are... So orcs are like their own... If you have an orc infestation, it starts with shrooms, and then the shrooms become snotlings, and the snotlings and alongside the snotlings you have squigs, and then come Gretchen, and then come orcs. And they are very hard to get rid of. You need to use a flamethrower or exterminatus the planet.
Well, from what I understand, if it basically gets big enough, your planet's fucked.
To a
You're
degree,
not getting rid of them.
there is a point that they don't have... they don't have the technology.
Looks like the Orlocks tried to break through the wall with an ambot.
So the way to look at it is, if they come back, what they don't have is the technology to be as big a threat.
Yeah.
How do you have a shield? Did you kill my dog? Oh.
Oh no!
I didn't know it could die.
And didn't die in the best position either.
I mean, he'll come back.
So can you... And God, I can't believe I'm going to utter this sentence out loud. Can you talk to me about Gork and Mork, please?
Well, Gork and Mork, the Orc gods.
Yes.
Well, you got Gork and you got Mork. One is cunningly brutal and the other is brutally cunning.
Yes, I've heard.
Which means that one of them will run up and punch you in the face. And the other one will sneakily run up and punch you in the face.
He'll walk up.
No, he'll be sneaky. But he'll still punch you in the face. Makes perfect sense if you're an orc. Gork and Mork are sort of their own little thing. They're not as big a deal as like the Chaos Gods,
Yeah.
but they are arguably just as powerful. They have quite a lot of fun just punching people and each other. It's sort of just what they do. They fight each other. Oops.
Fix it later.
I don't plan on fixing it. This is Warhammer 40k. If it's got a hole in it, it's fine. Which is also how Slaanesh works.
Yeah, I saw Art of Slaanesh the other day.
Yeah, you did.
Look, I'm not saying chaos is the way.
Look, Slaanesh has a special place in everyone's heart, and a special place in everyone's,
Genitalia.
Hey, Slaanesh can be whatever you want Slaanesh to be. That's not even a joke, that is actually what Slaanesh does. Slaanesh, because the Chaos Gods don't have a set form.
Yeah, they take the form of whatever they deem fit.
Yeah, so, you know, you could have a female Khorne. Although I personally find Khorne to be one of the more boring gods.
Look at Eva.
I mean, we know Eva's patron. But yeah, so Gork and Mork are the Orc gods. They kind of don't really ask that much of their followers. And they don't have any deep, sneaky plans like the Chaos Gods. They're perfectly happy if the Orcs just do what the Orcs do. They do have Gazgul, who is the biggest Orc.
Well, he's essentially their leader, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's kind of like the Prime Orc.
Yeah.
He's not the biggest Orc who ever existed. That was the Beast, who was like 6 orcs who were all roughly the size of a dreadnought. And who had orc dignitaries.
Orc dignitaries?
Yeah, so when the Beast was around, the orcs got so advanced. Because you remember, the orcs get more advanced the more of them there are, right?
Yeah.
And this war was so big, you had orc dignitaries, orc diplomats. Admittedly, the orc diplomats only went so far as to walk up to people and say, you should surrender, or we's gonna murder you.
I think that's very diplomatic.
I mean, it fit the track.
Fit the job.
Yeah, the humans didn't listen. They were the closest to becoming Krogs, which is likely what will happen for Gazgul as well. Like, he's getting bigger and smarter. And also, because he's an orc, at one point he had his head chopped off, but his doc put his head on a different body and that worked. That's another reason the orcs are so hard to kill. You can cut a piece off and they'll just attach another piece and it'll work.
Well, didn't he, during one of his earlier incursions when he kind of became their leader, get his skull smashed in, and they basically just replaced, well, they didn't replace his head, but they just put a load of fucking steel shit on him.
Yeah. Partially.
And then he was bigger, stronger, and more fearsome.
Yeah, it was a perfect excuse for GW to give him a new model.
I mean, fair enough.
Well, that was
Works
the main
out both
reason.
ways.
That was the main reason it happened. But yeah, so the Gork and Mork are weird. They don't get as much love as other gods. But that's also because, and more metal, yes, he's got a lot more metal. But that's partially because, like, GW doesn't really like Xenos races all that much.
Yeah.
Because they don't sell as well as Space Marines. Space Marines are the most played on. So they don't really get lore. I mean, we've only had 2. You've got to remember, Orcs have been around since the beginning. They've only had something like 2-3 books.
That's surprising.
Well, A, they're quite hard to write, because, you know, on one hand they're comedic, but on the other hand, some of the stories for orcs are dark. And the orcs can be very dark.
And there's only so many British people that are willing to speak like that for so long.
No, that's also true. As I told you, I mean, Gazgul's name is basically Margaret Thatcher. Is Gazgul Mazur Kraka.
There was that Gork Morka game. There was a Gork Morka game?
Yeah, Gorka Morka was a game, was a tabletop game that was eventually made into a video game thing, which involved, you know, you played orc gangs, including the Revolution with the Red Gobbo, who was a goblin who started a revolution.
Well, you had that game you played as well. What was it called? Blood, Sweat and Teeth?
Yeah, Blood, Sweat and Teeth. I mean, they're getting a bit more love, but it's nowhere near as much as other factions.
Well, the thing is, people are always going to find Space Marines cool because it's big, strong dudes in big, strong power armor.
Oh, he's dead. That's awkward.
Aww. And the fact of the matter is, like, obviously you have a lot of the people that play Warhammer that know a lot of the lore, and they'll always find either their favorite Space Marines or,
Yeah.
you know, their favorite Primarchs. Whereas anyone who doesn't know a lot about it probably maybe played Space Marine, and Titus was their, you know, like, that's a Space Marine.
Well, there's a reason
And
that...
that's a very good character to sell, you know, the genre on.
I mean, there's a reason that, Ultramarines are as popular as they are. I still really need to figure out how to change weapons in this game. That's one thing I haven't actually figured out yet. No, it's not that button.
Is it triangle?
Nope, that throws a grenade.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I said I hate it when games remove triangles and change gun, change weapon.
Do you have a weapon wheel?
You would think I would do, wouldn't you?
Do you want? I mean, do you not have a controls thing in the pause menu?
Unfortunately, Alex, I'm currently kind of stuck.
Oh, that's why I have a pause menu.
See, options...
Controls. There you go.
Jump, take down, reload, interact, shoot, aim, crouch, dash, actions, wheel. Throw grenade,
Next weapon.
next
There you
weapon.
go. It's the D-pad.
Ugh, I hate D-pad games. Hello, baby. Now, in theory, that should actually break his arm, but this isn't a Space Marine bolter, it's a human bolter, which they do have.
No, it's not a a bolter strapped to another bolter.
Oh,
There is a weapon wheel in the PC version.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me that there isn't here. Before any of you come at me with the... By the way, if anyone has any lore questions they want to ask, feel free.
What more do I have? So we've gone through the heresy. We've been through the chapters and the Primarchs.
Psycho Lady, look up.
Oh! Oh!
Hey! Henty-tenty. Also, I'm on fire.
A
And...
little bit.
Come, Papa, show her the power of Doggo. Okay, fireball in my face. Look at them girl lads. We love a bit of girl lads.
I mean, to be fair, in all the questions that I wrote down 7 questions, which you have answered, and it's taken 2 hours, so, fair play.
I want to touch it.
I think it wants to touch you.
Also, I want to touch the girl lad. Now, weirdly, if I yell, show me that V to a bunch of women, it's very different than yelling it to a bunch of
Yes, it
gym
is.
bros, you know? How do you ask women to see their V, but not mean that V?
Set in a hive city.
It
I don't
most
think
likely
it's-
will be.
I don't know if it's set in a hive city because it's a world that's being plagued by the Tyranids.
I think it's a.
Well, it's a jungle planet, but there's the cities in it as well. So maybe.
I mean, Hive Cities. Not that V, you slut. It's not a high. It might. I mean, it could. You have Hive Cities who happen to be like not Hive Cities in the same way. I think it's a Foundry planet,
I think it is a Foundry planet.
but most cities on them are Hive Cities. Because you can have a Hive City in it. It's not a city-wide thing. You know, it's not Coruscant. Hive Cities tend to exist on planets. I mean, Armageddon has like 9 of them. It's just Terra that doesn't have a lot else going on. Terra's all city. No teleport.
Oh
Stabby.
god! Oh god! So is she dead now, or?
Yes, Alex. She's very dead.
Yeah, but there was like multiple of her.
Yeah, and I gutted all of them.
Oh, fair. Oh god!
Sorry, I missed all that. I believe it is a Hive City for part of it. But you can have a Hive City and have it be on a planet. Other planets have numerous Hive Cities. It's not like a singular thing.
I'm not gonna lie. For the first like 10 minutes of us playing that game, I'm just gonna be looking at the scenic like areas.
I'm going to be accusing them of not having enough love for the Emperor. And killing
Like,
Imperial Guard.
All the cathedral, like all the cathedral designs of all the buildings.
Yeah,
like-
weirdly, that was around during the Emperor's time too, so it's an odd choice that he'd then go, oh, I'm not a god.
What?
The
The
whole
Emperor?
cathedral design thing, yeah.
I don't know what to tell you there. I'm not a god. Anyway, come into my church. Not a church though, it's a Denny's.
Don't get me wrong, if you had to pick kind of an architecture to build a spaceship on, sure, fair enough. A
The
little
goth
bit of
aesthetic is
gothic.
peak. Oh yeah, the goth aesthetic is peak. But it just, I mean, like it's. I've heard people reviewing the game say that this is like the first next-gen game to look like a next-gen game, which I don't believe.
That seems like
there have been-
IGN
that's-
speak.
Yeah, no, that's not. IGN have been shitting on it.
I mean, IGN are currently telling people that Concord is really good, so frankly, yeah.
What was it? Something that IGN fucking said the other day. That was it. They said that.
Oh, it was slow, wasn't it? Like, it felt clunky.
Yeah, they said it felt clunky.
To which everyone
they-
responded, yeah, you're an 8-foot-tall man in power armor, of course it's
what does a
clunky.
next-gen game look like? Apparently, Space Marine 2.
I mean, I'm expecting there to be issues, don't get me wrong. I doubt it's going to be perfect.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people who have played it, a lot of people have been playing the PC version, which, if that version works okay, the console version's probably going to be fine. It's usually the other way around that it's an issue.
Oh, I should point out, there are gene stealers in this game too.
Oh,
There's always gene stealers.
they're my least favorite thing.
No, my least favorite thing is the Domunculaba.
Don't know what that is.
It's why the Iron Warriors aren't as good guys as some people might have you believe.
What do?
This is R18 for anyone who's watching.
Oh, Jesus.
So one of the biggest issues the traitor legions obviously have is where do you get more Marines?
Yeah.
So the first thing you have to know is that the majority of Space Marines in the traitor legions in the current setting
Yeah.
will be the same as the ones who are in the Horus Heresy.
Okay.
Because time in the warp is fuckety.
Yeah.
So if they go into the warp and come out, 1,000 years could have passed for outside the warp, and a day for them.
Yeah.
So, but getting new Marines, you have the odd Marine or squad who turns to Chaos, maybe a chapter. If
Yeah.
you want to learn a fun thing, look up the Bad Dab War. That's always great. You get Red Corsairs. Do you know what Red Corsairs are?
No.
Space Marine space pirates,
Oh.
which are fun. But where do you get new Marines? It's tricky.
Mhm.
So one Iron Warrior called Honso came up with a plan.
Uh-huh.
make instant Space Marines.
How?
Well, start as you mean to go on. He started by kidnapping women,
Oh no.
and then he would cut open the women,
Oh no!
put in a child,
Oh, what?
sew them up, and then
Oh!
pump the child full of the marine making stuff. So the child then forms as a marine inside the woman. She is alive through all of this.
I take it she's not alive by the end of it.
No, she remains alive because when the marine's fully grown, they cut her open again, remove the marine, who, at this point, doesn't have skin,
Oh.
because none of the marines who went through the demonculaba have skin.
Oh.
They give them skin suits, so they make skin and patch it together. And then the poor woman who had to go all through this and is tied down, you know, she's attached to a machine, has to
Yeah.
do it again.
Oh.
Over and over and over and over again. They were
Until
all
death.
destroyed.
Good.
But that is one of the darkest points of Space Marine lore.
That is. I don't know if it's quite the same as a broodmother, but it's definitely.
It's of a similar, because these women are
It's on the road. It's on the same road.
like the point of a brood mother is their brains corrupted.
Yeah.
These women are not.
Yeah. They're very aware of everything that's going on and not liking it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the
Oh.
Skaven just have brood mothers who are Skaven. You know,
Yeah.
if you want a lot of Skaven, you get a lot of Skaven. Unless you're Alex, in which case you just get gang jumped by a bunch of Skaven.
Yeah. They knew they couldn't impregnate me, but they tried.
They wanted that man meat, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I get for doing squats.
Look, there's parts of Warhammer 40k lore, weird place to put a chair. There's parts of 40k lore that doesn't make a huge amount of sense. So, for instance, ooh, lasgun. Unfortunately, the lasguns in this are sniper rifles. But it is a lasgun. One annoying thing that it's a lasgun. I hate that part, but oh well. So there is a Inquisitor
Uh-huh.
who, speaking of gene stealers,
Mm.
he had a Calidus assassin with him. Now, Calidus assassins have the ability to turn into things.
Mm.
He had a bit of a fetish for gene stealers.
No.
Yeah.
A fetish?
Yeah, he turned her into a kind of half gene stealer, half human, and then
Ah!
stuck her like that.
Oh, God! That was when the Emperor's room light bulb went out and he kept missing his golden toilet that day. Later, I knew whoever was responsible.
Crap, I'm dying.
You
I'm dying and I'm stuck in a hole. Oh god, it's like college all over again.
Well,
This is a good start. I didn't mean to fall off this thing, but apparently I did.
and you're all out of.
Save me, Papa.
Cool, you've killed the dog and you.
Yeah, the dog's fine. So, working hard or hardly working? I'm fine. Yeah, he had a whole thing, and he went to a Selenish planet, and it was another whole thing. There's parts of Space Marine Warhammer 40k lore that's very weird.
That's one way to word it. A Space Marine disposition. I don't think he poops anymore, Gauze.
No, yeah, he doesn't have the bits that make that necessary. He also doesn't eat.
I think he just exists. I did read that he asked to be put on the Golden Throne, which means this, for some reason, is what he wanted.
Well, he has to be there. If he isn't there, then the Imperium doesn't really work. They don't have the ability to have, you know, how do you have spaceships if he's not there? Ironically, it's supposedly where they were going to put Magnus after the heresy.
Don't move.
He said he's on a Golden
That's
Throne.
what
The throne
you're
equals
gonna do
toilet.
for me if you want to live.
My brothers have got my back. They're all around you.
No, they're not. Talk. Who are you working for? Where's the
He's
silver
got a hole in
talent?
his jacket.
You're a dead man. Any moment.
But yeah,
now.
so that's kind of the very brief example of the 40k lore, really.
You big lumps of stem blubber
Well.
looking for some Orlov scum. I think I found him. Come on over.
Why
It's
does
all
everyone have a
yours.
mohawk?
Last chance. Talk.
Yeah, it said,
Oh, really? You're gonna protect him all by yourself?
hey. It's an interesting lore system. Yeah. Well, this is what
Well-
happened. Why did the sexy angry ladies never come talk to me?
Because they're too busy getting blown up by those guys.
And stabbed by me? How dare you remove my association in this?
Well,
I'm
I mean,
amazed this
they
game hasn't
did a
crashed
lot
yet.
of the hard work there, Josh.
Alex, I happen to work very hard.
I'm sure you do,
constantly
but
hard.
I'm not saying you didn't work hard. I'm saying they I can't say it. Effortlessly, did it.
Constantly hard.
I think I had a stroke.
Just one?
You did. Thanks, you.
Hey,
You did it.
good boy.
Yay.
Bloody hell, I'm finding everything today.
A whole word.
I mean, I didn't ask how you found this game, Alex.
It's a game.
It's basically Doom in 40k.
No, that was Balgun.
I mean, like, new Doom.
No, the new Doom is better than this.
Oh, yeah, no, the new Doom is better. I'm not saying it isn't better, although you don't have a pupper.
Also, you look stupid.
Oh, yeah, no, but a lot of 40k characters look very stupid.
When you have a cup with a skull on and you think that makes it cool, but it doesn't.
Like, do you know why Space Marines have such big shoulder pads?
Because they got tiny arms.
Nope, it is entirely so GW could copyright them.
Really?
GW copyright nearly everything.
They copyrighted shoulder pads?
Shoulder pads of that size means you can't copy them.
Yeah.
I
Not as
mean,
much as
Else,
doesn't matter.
like,
they're old.
Who told you?
Just
who cares?
GW do.
Was the
GW
Black
are
Serpent
famous for
spoiled
being
the fun?
super suey.
Been following me again.
For instance, they changed the
You?
name Imperial
No.
Guard to Astra
But
Militarum
like I told you, we're
because
following
it
the
means
same
they could
trail.
copyright it.
It's why we should work together.
And yeah, Age of
It'd be the
Sigmar, they
smart
changed
thing
most
to
of the
do.
names so they could copyright it.
Sometimes.
They tried to copyright Space Marine,
but-
didn't work.
Yeah, it's too.
Oh, Papa.
Remember when you died? No, probably for the best.
Oh, I got a trophy for petting the dog.
You have not finished this game.
I have finished this game.
I don't
Why are
think
you
it.
doubting my finishing of the game so much?
Because you're getting trophies.
Because I did it
I'm here for my mastiff.
on my fucking... You know what? I'm not even gonna...
Ooh, you good boy.
Less good now. Now he is terrifying.
Still a good boy.
He is still a good boy.
God, the fucking first upgrade literally cost nothing, and then everything else is fucking expensive as shit.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Oh. I want to clarify something. You just had your puppa's legs torn off.
And replaced with robo legs.
Yeah, but they were torn. I don't think that he was under anesthetic while it happened.
It's weird
I
that you think 40k has an aesthetic.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't think they were under anesthetic. I don't think it exists. No.
No, too expensive. Oh, cool, I can have a vocal implant.
Unfortunately, upgrading the dog means you replace all his fleshy, but that's sad.
Yeah, he does become a bit of a robot. But we'll go look at him now as he's a pupper. Hello.
Borg.exe.
Oh, it's sad. I mean, he's definitely more terrifying now. Did he get bigger ears? Oh, he's still chasing his tail.
Rough,
With your
rough.
That is a hand.
.msi.
That is 2 hands.
I wish there was a skin that would restore his look. They're only
And
different
weirdly, a pack of sick. Are you smoking?
armors. More.
Bad dog.
More.
Brr.
Wild Snake is 25
Hey.
creds, Amasek is 4 creds, and Old Foy's is 3.
Well,
Well,
I'm
I
free.
mean,
What about
that's
you?
what the bottle's
I'll
second
jack you off with
best.
my human hand and
I heard
stick
you
my
took
robot
the iron
fingies
rifle.
up your
No, I want the robot hand.
With nothing to
The one that got away.
Is that so?
I don't know.
I want the robot hand, Alex. So, what other questions do you have? If any?
Well, you've answered a lot of the ones on Space Marines. Ugh. I mean, to be fair, there's an infinite number I could ask about the Space Marines because there's always more questions, more chapters, more information.
That's true.
Um,
Well, let me ask you in the chat. What are your favourite Space Marine chapters? And why?
ugh.
I mean, I know you like the Space Wolves.
I'm Space Wolves and the Blood Angels are my favourites.
Slut Marines,
Marines.
Eva's all EC, fair enough.
And
You should read some of the earlier stories about them. That's where it gets weird, like monsters attached to their crotch by fleshy tubes. Not kidding.
It sounds like Eva's Tuesday night.
Okay, better question.
Because they're perfect little self-absorbed maniacs, just like you.
Who's your least favourite?
My least favorite, that I'd probably say the Iron Hands.
That's fair. They don't get a lot of love.
I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that they're kind of trying to work towards the whole cold machinery aspect, which I just in any game I always find that just fucking boring.
Yeah, they're one of the least represented chapters. Bit like the White Scars. They get forgotten a lot.
Yeah. I generally don't like Space Marines very much. They're just kind of boring after the whole heroic last stand of humanity against odds of the Imperial Guard.
Yeah, that's fair. The Imperial Guard have a lot of love, but the Imperial Guard have factions people hate too. Like the Mordian Iron Guard. Or the...
The ones that paint their armor in bright colors are the worst. You just want to get shot.
If you're a Slanishi Marine, yeah. Because it's kinky. How the...
I was going to ask you this, but I learned it today. Why certain Space Marines have different colored helmets, but it's usually a mark of rank.
It is, but also started by the Ultramarines.
Well, wasn't it started by the Ultramarines in a bit of a negative way?
Yeah, so the first one who had it was, Alright, listen, Papa. I don't want to hurt you, and you don't want to hurt me, but I'm going to hurt you. Okay,
It was
that
a
old
Space
Yeller.
Marine who I can't remember what he suggested, but he made a suggestion, and a lot of the other Marines and upper ranks didn't like it.
He
So
suggested
to
practicing fighting other Marines.
yes, and to basically mock him, they covered his helmet in they covered it in blood and made it red.
They did. And then he turned out...
he would be seen on the battlefield and basically be singled out, but he ended up proving himself in a fight, didn't he?
Well, he ended up proving that being the guy talking about we should practice fighting Marines turned out to be the best person to have in a fight against Marines.
And it ended up then becoming a staple of what chapters did to represent rank.
Yeah.
So
it
they
also
could be
just makes
notified on
sense.
the...
It's easy. You should
Yeah.
read or listen to the Kane novels. You would like the Kane novels.
What are the Kane novels?
Caiaphas Kane. He is an Imperial Guard. He's a bit like... I suppose you could kind of call him Blackadder in space. To a degree.
Jesus.
He is perpetually a coward. He's a commissar. He's a coward. He really doesn't want to be there. His main goal is not getting murdered. Which, as you can imagine, is quite tricky in the 40k universe. But he also happens to be very good at it.
I mean, fair enough.
He has yet to be killed. In fact, they won't even let him be marked as dead because he keeps coming back. And he's a great example of a well-written guard character where he's not just nobly dying.
Which is what most of them do.
Yeah, one of the big issues with 40k for a long time is that they had an issue writing people.
Yeah.
Right, so the Horus Heresy changed a lot of that by making Marines more human. You know, they'd have conversations, they'd have jokes, which 40k Marines don't really.
Yeah.
Partially because, you know, it kind of, they lost the plot.
Yeah.
You know, they became, there's a great bit where Khan, who is the equerry of the, originally the equerry of the World Eaters, but also the, like Khan the Betrayer, he's the big World Eater.
Yeah.
He fights Sigismund, who used to be a friend of his. Now, Khan falls to Khorne, right?
Yeah.
And Sigismund is the leader of the Black Templars, and they have a sword fight during the Siege of Terra.
Yes.
And Khan is horrified by what he sees because he tries to talk to Sigismund to, you know, say we were friends, you should join me. Sigismund isn't having it. By this point, Sigismund is uninterested. He is cold, he is calculating, he is just trying to kill him. And in Khan's perspective, he is scared by what he sees that the heresy has done to the Imperials.
Yeah.
Now, the Black Templars, who are one of the chapters I play, are a bunch of nutters.
Yeah.
Like, they chain their weapons to themselves and just murder everybody. And it's sort of telling, because Khan is following Khorne by this point. Who's, you know, Khorne kind of drives people nuts, and he's scared of Sigismund. Sigismund also nearly killed Abaddon the Spoiler.
Was it Sigismund who had like a demon in his blade or something?
No, that was... So the one who had a demon in his blade was Fulgrim as a Primarch. Demon Blade was... so the leader... I can't remember his name, Grimnar, the leader of the Space Wolves, took a Chaos Blade, beat it into submission and turned it into an axe.
Oh, wow.
Just because he could. He's also the one who had the Space Wolves get in a fight with the Inquisition in Apocalypse, which was a whole thing. The Months of Shame, worth looking into, because it's an interesting book as well. I can't remember what it's called, it's like the Spear of Hyperion or something.
Which they won.
They kind of won. In the end, what happened was... Right, I'm going to have to explain this. Sorry, I pause a lot when I have to fully explain things. So, the first War of Armageddon was Angron as a demon Primarch attacking the world of Armageddon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they summon the Grey Knights, but there's a rule where if an Imperial citizen sees the Grey Knight, they have to be euthanized because the Grey Knights have to remain a secret.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Space Marines, if they see the Grey Knights, they're not so euthanized because you can't really euthanize the Space Marine because chapters will get annoying.
Yeah.
Although it has happened, look up the Celestial Lions, or don't if you want to be annoyed. So they mind wipe them. However, Angron turned up, and Angron as a demon Primarch was causing havoc on Armageddon as well as all his cultists and everything else. So Logan Grimnar, who is the leader of the Space Wolves, called the Grey Knights, who are very good at killing demons. It's what they do. They're psychers, all of them. They turned up, and he told them specifically, you're not going to appear in front of the Imperial Guard, who have been fighting this entire time. I don't want to see them get executed just for seeing you while fighting for their home planet.
Okay.
The Grey Knights attacked. Angron killed something like 90 out of 100 of them, and then lost to one guy. Eventually, but the one guy nearly died. Grey Knights are Mary Sues, but kind of there's a reason they're Mary Sues.
Okay.
But the Inquisition decided that everyone on the planet should be sterilized, forced into labor camps until they died. And then the planet would be recolonized. As you can imagine, the Space Wolves were not happy about that. So the Space Wolves started helping civilian ships escape after the Inquisition started shooting at them. The Inquisition and the Grey Knights, which was a bit of a sticking point because the Grey Knights weren't sure why they were still there. Like, that's not their purpose. They're not designed to kill civilians. And the Space Wolves never shot back. It's an important fact that they never shot back against the Inquisition ships. They started blocking the escaping transports, but they never shot back. until the Inquisition offered parley.
Right.
Logan Grimnar turned up with his spaceship, and then they shot upon him when he turned up.
Oh.
They didn't kill him. He teleported to their ship and slaughtered a Grey Knight who was supposedly a great combatant. And then they disappeared. So the Inquisitor in charge, whose name I can't remember, said, what we'll do is we'll go to Fenris.
Okay.
And we'll force them to surrender. So they turned up with the Red Hunters Space Marine chapter, who were under the, they work for the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Fenris. Now, Fenris has one of the largest defensive platforms, which is That Fang, which is a Space Marine kind of fortress monastery. It is a big ship. The Space Wolves also have the largest fleet.
Yeah.
And they turned up seconds later to find these Inquisition ships with their gun pointed at their homeworld. Now, the Inquisitor had gone down to the planet, and he met someone called Bjorn the Fell-Handed.
Okay.
Now, Bjorn the Fell-Handed is a dreadnought who is the only living Imperial Space Marine, or one of the only living Imperial Space Marines, who was around during the Heresy.
Right.
He's also a massive flirt. He sees a lady with the Inquisitors who's a Fenrisian, and he's kind of like nothing like a frostbitten maiden. He kind of strokes her teeth with his power claw. He was a flirt when he was human. He was a flirt now. But he's also, because he's the only, Space Imperial who ever knew the Emperor.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a big deal if you're an Inquisitor or a Grey Knight.
Yeah.
But then they got word that the Space Wolves had turned up, and they were not happy in a giant fleet. And it started as a space battle. And then Logan Grimnir and his Terminators teleported onto the Inquisitor ship, and he executed the Inquisitor who had started the whole thing. And he was going to keep fighting until Bjorn turned up and was just like, listen, you're being idiots. Right? There's more shit to deal with. You killed the dickhead who started it. You've gotten rid of most of the survivors of Armageddon. It's done. Just sit down and shut up. Which they did, but the Inquisition got very suspicious of the Space Wolves, and the Space Wolves don't like the Inquisition.
Yeah.
But, for anyone who says, well, the Inquisition were evil, you do have to see it from the Inquisition side. If those people got to other planets and were corrupted by chaos, then it's a whole other Armageddon.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong.
Fun fact about Armageddon, too. It was originally a planet completely controlled by the Orcs, and it was the last planet the Emperor fought on.
Oh.
It's also had two other wars where Ghazghkull Maguruk Thraka comes up, where he hangs out with Yarrick. Or Yarrick fights to survive and save the planet, and Gaz is kind of like, this is a good bro date. Because Orcs and Imperials don't think. It's also where Grimaldus, who's one of my favourite characters, turns out.
Good God.
Grimaldus is a chaplain for the Black Templars who's awesome. He's a very cool dude.
I take it that the Black Templars are your favourite chapter then?
They are, partially because they're all nuts, but I also like the Salamanders quite a lot. And I like the Space Wolves. But I think the Space Wolves suffer at the minute from the fact that when they're written in lore, it's 90%. They've overdone the wolf thing.
Yeah.
Like, the funny thing is, they never call themselves Space Wolves. They're the Vilka Fenrica. Which doesn't mean wolves. It's like Sons of Fenris or something.
Yeah, it sounds like something Fenris.
Well, I don't think I'm meant to be down here. Oh, he's following me.
Oh, okay. Well, you made a friend that the Space Wolf Inquisitor War did, and with the Space Wolves officially being put outside the chain of command, and the unique belief in the Emperor of not being a god was accepted as not exactly heresy.
They kind of always viewed him as a sort of god. They call him the Allfather, for instance. Because, you can't get Viking enough.
Yeah.
Some Space Wolves do see him as that, some Space Wolves don't. However, they recently had a bit of an issue because Magnus turned back up and supremely fucked their shit up. And then the Inquisition, they were left heavily weakened. The Dark Angels were tricked into thinking they'd turn traitor and helped the Inquisition for a bit, and then realised they were being idiots.
Yeah.
and I will get into the relationship between the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves in a minute. Because as I said, their Primarchs are very similar, but their relationship is complicated. And the Space Wolves were left undermanned, underutilized, and the Inquisition was able to kill a bunch of Fenrisians for being corrupted by Magnus. Which they may well have been. But that isn't so much the case now, because Guilliman turned up and was like, hey, Primaris Marines!
Primaris.
But the Space Wolves didn't like the Primaris Marines that much initially, until one of the Primaris said, you guys are so obsessed with your traditions, you're being dumb. It's also allowed the Space Wolves to have a successor chapter, which they never got before.
Oh, really?
No, because every time they tried, the Curse of the Wolfen took over and they turned into werewolves.
Oh.
So the Curse of the Wolfen is where their gene seed basically turns them into werewolves.
Can they turn back?
No.
Oh.
So it's why they never had it. They were the only Space Marine chapter who never had any successors.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
I should probably explain what chapters are too, shouldn't I? Because we've mentioned legions, but chapters are something different.
Yeah, well, I mean, explain how chapters were brought in, because it was brought in by one specific legion.
Yeah, so chapters were essentially the idea of Rabute Guilliman after the heresy, when he thought, well, the heresy would not have been as bad if leaders didn't have access to an entire Space Marine Legion. So a Space Marine Legion could be anywhere up to 115,000 Marines. So he decided to split everything into chapters, where essentially each legion would be able to have successor chapters that could only be about 1,000. So each chapter is only about 1,000 Marines, or 10,000. It's between that, I can't remember exactly. Some legions didn't like it. Others were so decimated by the heresy it didn't really matter at the time. But they had rules that mitigated exactly how much they could have.
Yeah.
And for the most part it kind of worked, but it means that you have, like, the Ultramarines have many successor chapters, the Space Wolves couldn't. And it limited what chapters could actually have, which also made sense, because the heresy was 7 years of hell. Like, you have to remember, 100 Space Marines could take a planet.
Yeah.
In lore. In tabletop, not so much. Because there's a disconnect between tabletop and, for one thing, Catachans are as strong as a Space Marine in the tabletop, so yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, so there's all that. But yeah, Space Marines and Dark Angels. So, as I said, their leaders are two very different sides. So, you know, one pretending to be a savage to hide his civility, the other pretending to be pretending a level of civility to hide his savagery, right?
Yeah.
They initially did not like each other. Like, Lehman Russ and Lionel Johnson originally hated each other. I once again have no idea where I'm meant to go. That way seems promising. And they got into a fist fight once. Well, they started with a weapon fight, and then they got into a fist fight. And to prove that Lionel Johnson wasn't good with people, eventually Lehman Russ realized that this is kind of dumb. Because in his mind, for Meridians, killing each other is pretty normal, yeah?
Yeah.
It's just what you do. Well, not killing each other. You get into a punch-up, and then you have a beer, and then you're cool. But it wasn't the case for Lionel Johnson, so he ended up sucking him. But the two of them, even today, the two sides... Well, it's ironic you say living up to his name, because he's actually named after a couple of homosexual artists. Is Lionel Johnson. Fun fact. But he, yeah. So the two of them have punch-ups quite a lot. The two legions have a routine where they meet up and they have a punch-up. But they're also the two legions who turned up later, and when Lionel Johnson realized they were late and that everything had happened, he was angry, and he got into a fight with Lehman Russ. And Lehman Russ opened up his tunic and said, "Stab me. You know, if it'll make you feel better, stab me." And he did.
Did it make him feel better?
No, he felt worse, and they ended up becoming actually quite good they're actually two of the better friends of the Primarchs. The really good friends of the Primarchs, the two who were huge friends, were Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands and Fulgrim. Which is unfortunate, because during the Istvan massacre, Fulgrim killed him.
Hey, this is all our territory.
Yes.
And it actually broke Fulgrim to do it. Like, he didn't want to, it was the sword that did it. Like, it convinced him that he needed to kill him. What do you mean, what is that? It's a dog! Aww! Papa!
Shoot it!
But yeah, so that was the whole thing. Fulgrim did kill him. But I don't just play Black Templars, I also play Emperor's Children. Because, well, I play for different reasons than I assume Eva likes them for. I like the fact that how they fell and how tragic they are. And also,
And why does Eva like that?
because they're little slut marines.
Little slug marines.
Yeah, they're 8-foot tall little slut marines. Basically. I wish it didn't show me stabbing them in the head. It's kind of disheartening. But yeah, that's Lionel Johnson and Farrah and Lehman Russ, who you know, I don't hate the Dark Angels, but they are my least favorite chapter currently, mostly for the fans. Because they got written as being, like, in a certain way for the recent re-release of him, of, like, Lionel Johnson, and it became kind of a pain, because fans made it like they're the best ever.
Oh, they're Space Marines that just vibe. I think that goes against being a Space Marine.
Are there Space Marines that just vibe? Good question. Noise Marines are all about that vibe. Thing is, as I said, part of the reason so many Space Marines turn to Chaos, or when Space Marines do, is they don't have time to vibe. Like, they really don't have, like, yow.
Damn it! Time to run.
Like, yeah, you're an immortal super soldier. But you gotta remember, you don't have any free will, really. And you're heavily controlled. Or do what I do, play the Drukhari. But you play the Drukhari for all the elvish women in leather.
Open this rust damn door.
I don't know why I keep punching these guys. Or why they gave them handles. Yeah, slut elves. I realise I played two armies who slut themselves. And the orcs technically procreate by fighting, which means their version of, you know, doing the horizontal tango is,
And that answers all the questions that you think it's gonna answer. I'm gonna go pee.
it's like there's a theme. Yeah.
Can you hear
No
me?
comment.
Yeah, I got you. Looks like some meathead Goliaths have got the same idea.
Yeah. And watch out. They've salvaged a bunch of ambots from the loading station. Looks like they're trying to get it reactivated too.
I'm gonna take care of this before that train gets here.
I mean, making a lasgun a sniper rifle is fine. Lasguns are super powerful if you're anyone other than a space marine or, you know, any other enemy. Like, the whole point with lasguns is, in theory, they suck, but it's only because they're against the foes they're against. If you had a lasgun in today's world, it'd be more powerful than any gun you could find. It's a bit weird, that. That's probably part of why. Yeah, I think rating them is really tricky because, yeah, lasguns are weak in the lore, but you got to remember what they're up against. Like, a lasgun's powerful enough to take off concrete. Like, you could blast a hole in concrete with a lasgun, technically. And it burns away chunks of people. It's a powerful gun if you're not a super soldier or an orc who could lose its arm and not really worry about it. Which makes it hard to quantify. The hell? Something just... Oh, fuck, I don't want the iOS 18 beta. And doing that has crashed my phone. But yeah, but as you've said in the past, Eva, like, consistency between the novels is not a strong suit. Good boy.
What? Think you're gonna
There we
fix
go.
that thing with your hammer, Stimface?
I feel like calling someone stim face feels a bit like a non-insult. Oh, this guy looks fun. Honor your leader, honor Lord Stephen Hellman. Yeah, well, he's got wires in his head. It's not a great insult. I could imagine better ones. Weirdly, shotguns are not prominent in 40k. And another weirdly, I really want to play Dawn of War, the original Dawn of War campaign again now. Which I might do later, just for shits and gigs. That was a great campaign. Like, you want a game that nobody expected to be good at release. Did I play Dawn of War 3? No, I never did Dawn of War 3. I did Dawn of War 2, which I quite enjoyed. But I don't mind Dawn of War 2. I get some people weren't as big on it because it wasn't the same. But Dawn of War 3, I just found it kind of, the bits I saw of it, the whole, here's a little capture these points, etc., etc., I found a bit kind of meh. Plus, Dawn of War 2 had the Chaos campaign, which is quite fun. Aww. Okay, apparently I summoned a skull. Not sure what's happening. There's only 3 Dawn of Wars, Eva. You gotta remember, all the souls thingy and the other stuff, that's all Dawn of War 1.
Oh.
In technical terms, there's only Dawn of War 1, 2, and 3. Sorry, we're talking 40k games now.
Oh, okay.
Of which many were terrible.
You hear me?
Well, I've only played Space Marine.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, there's
Looks like
Dawn of
some
War.
meathead Goliaths have got the same idea.
There's Fire Warrior.
I've seen you play Fire Warrior, and that was
Oh, it's terrible. But it was the first kind of first-person shooter one. Bolt gun was good. Of course you liked it when it was broken. That doesn't count. Weirdly, this gun's fucking rumble is exactly the same as my phone's. So it's giving me conniption shooting it.
Oh, no, tell a lie, I played Vermintide, didn't I?
Oh, that was Warhammer Fantasy, different
Think
thing.
you're gonna fix that thing with your hammer, Stimface?
Well, to be fair, as it stands, I've got... I'm just looking at my Steam library right now, so I've got Space Marine. I've got Speed Freaks, because that's free. And I got Gladius Relics of War, because that was free for a time too.
I've got Chaos Gate, which is the original squad shooter for Warhammer 40k, which is a very old game, and kind of works, but it's a bit antiquated. And I mean very old. Dawn of War 2 Retribution. I have Retribution. I have the Chaos one, which is the campaign one where you've got to figure out which of these squadrons is chaosly corrupted. Which is It's quite fun, actually. But you also get to play... I mean, the one you're talking about lets you play Badrock, who's an orc, and any game that lets you play an orc is a good game. Although I know Alex isn't the hugest fan of orcs.
It's not orcs that I don't like, it's the fucking orc gods that I think are stupid.
What's wrong with Gork and Mork?
What are they, Josh?
One's cunningly brutal and the other's brutally cunning.
That's why I think they're stupid.
Are you implying that that wouldn't make all religions much simpler?
Less of that, more I just think it's stupid.
Of course it's stupid, that's half the fun. And that's what you want. You want a stupid god who does what he says. Exactly. The Orc freebooter campaign is Captain Badrock or something like that. It's quite entertaining. He wants to steal a pirate hat.
Alex is a model Imperial man.
Alex would not last in the Imperium. You're not allowed to talk back to your superiors or you get turned into a servitor.
Hey. I don't talk back.
Uh-huh. Look, you know what a servitor is, right, Alex?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you know they're not always completely lobotomized.
I know. Servitor, go and replace that engine module. I'll replace your engine module. What did you say? Nothing.
So that's what got you turned into a servitor.
See, a lot of these guys are blowing up on you, man.
Well, they got flamey jetpack backpacks. You don't want flamey jetpack backpacks. Hi, my name's Steven. Okay.
All you need is to hate orcs. And comply.
It could be worse. It could be a Tau. Then you really got to comply. I think I'm going to kill this thing and then call it.
You know, I'm surprised you've not called this game the same thing that you call most games.
Repetitive as hell.
Samey!
Oh, it's super samey. But I get a knife, so yeah.
That makes it all better.
Look, I mean, it's already got more fucking kill animations than Space Marine did. I mean, if I had the greater good, the greater good. Hey, but we know that movie is what gave you your little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a fetish, but it's close to for the West Country accent. One of these fucking things, just die. It's taking more bolter shots than it should to kill it. I mean, a bolter basically shoots little rockets.
That thing's as much a heap of junk as you are, meathead.
Okay, weird. Once again, weird insult.
No need!
You need to find the loading station. They'll be bringing him in that way.
I will say the kill animations are fun. Okay, I've got to attack a trench.
I'm looking forward to all the kill animations in Space Marine 2.
I hope they're good.
They look good. They look fucking brutal.
There are some cooler... I mean, I am unduly harsh to the game. It's not the worst game ever made. It's quite fun. Well, that's a problem.
I feel like if an orc wasn't an orc, he would look like that.
I feel like an orc would enjoy just that being there.
Oh god, he's using the Kamehameha on you.
I have my own Kamehameha. Dude, don't just punch my dog.
He killed your dog.
Yeah, but I killed him.
Not the same.
My dog is also technically immortal.
It's not that repetitive if you take time to mod your guns. Basically, it's not that bad if you play the game as intended.
Yeah. Ow, my kidneys. But I live, bitch!
That all done now?
There's too many of them.
No. I can handle this.
I can't.
It's a trap. Head up now. Get up as high as you can. I'm coming up to find you. I know a way out.
Thank you, geezer. He's coming up to find me. Alex.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all for her and me. There are a lot of them in here. I mean, I wouldn't want to live here. Got AFK for a bit. No worries. Well, we're finishing once I get to the end of this mission.
Hey.
Have a good AFKing, Eva. Once again, weird
I
chat.
really appreciate the effort from both of you.
Oh, you just
All I
went
did
through
was
the Space Marine
all I did was hammer my head against 1,000 fucking lore videos.
Apparently I broke the game. Run, 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 run.
Hold it right there.
No.
I can take you in right now, or scrape you off the floor in about 30 seconds' time.
Kinky.
Which is it gonna be?
Maybe a cuddle?
Scrape me, scrape
Ow.
me, scrape me. Oh god, he's gonna scrape me!
Save me, Papa!
Am I okay?
Okay, I'm not being taken in with someone who's that stupid a haircut. I still don't get, because their planet's basically Egyptian. Is the best way to put it. I don't think I actually found anything. Oh, I found this crap. I don't want it. So the way to look at Thousand Suns is they're basically space Egyptians. But it does give them... It also just makes them a bit unique and also makes them absolute hell to paint. I know a few people who play them and it's just like...
See, the painting side of it, I could actually get into. The tabletop side of it, I couldn't. But I can't
Afford it?
I can't justify that.
No, I fully get that. I barely
it is
justify it.
it is too much money for what would be just things to sit on a shelf, and that's it.
We want all your gaming, your Tales of Arise statuette. That's
Yeah,
true,
but
some
I
of them did
also
become blood
also
roses.
put a lot of time into that.
Fair. Alright. Right, well, anyway, thank you to everyone who came down. I'm currently in a box, but nobody cares.
It's gonna end well.
That is too many skulls.
Where's my dog, you fuck?
Ugh, Mohawk. Didn't I just rescue this turd?
Get
Yes?
back! In the corner! Back!
You.
I mean, they're
Yeah,
genetically made to
me.
be bigger.
You'd be dead otherwise. But I told a shadow to leave you with me.
Alright.
Then
Oh,
get
is this
out
the
of
one
my
that we
way,
broke out?
And we can
Yeah.
call it even.
You know what I don't get? Why you let me go, then show back up making trouble.
You have no idea, do you?
I have a squeaky toy. I feel like they went a bit half-assed on this animation. It's not quite up to stuff, is it?
Did the guy that we let go just get saved? Or get killed?
I have no idea. No, we killed a different guy and now we're in a
Enough of
room.
this.
But I'm not going to worry about that.
I don't know, it sounded like he died.
It's fine. Anyway, much love to everyone who came down or everyone who watches this online. I hope we answered some of your questions. We will see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, we're streaming 3 days in a row now.
Yep. It's going to be entertaining. Tomorrow and for more of whatever Alex is playing.
Tomorrow it's Kingdom Hearts, much to your dismay.
Yeah, I guess I'll be able to do something.
Which means it's a nice and easy stream for me. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't have to, put a lot of effort into it.
And then following that will be Persona 5. And then I may do the Pariah Nexus watch party on Sunday. I don't know, because we've not got any streams over the weekend. And then on the 5th is Space Marine.
Yep. So,
which may be 2 or 3 days of long streams.
it'll probably... I imagine 4 hours each will probably do it, because it's a 12-hour campaign.
Yeah.
So I reckon that make them 4 hours each.
And then I'm away for a week.
Yeah, which means there will be no streams that week.
Yeah.
We get a bit of a break.
So you all get a little bit of a holiday. Anyway, much love. We will see you on the flippy flop side. Have a lovely day.
Yeah, we
Ciao,
love you
ciao.
all. Bye.